Chapter 260. In front of the sunset martial institutions group, there was also a person who was comparable to Gong Xiang and Chu Rinxian. It was Qingfeng. Qingfeng's strength wasn't inferior, but his looks were slightly inferior. However, he had a sturdy body and looked abnormally masculine. The three major martial institutions were each other's strongest competitors. After so many years, the three major martial institutions had already formed a grudge. Other than the three major martial institutions, there was another martial institution that was rather eye-catching, the female martial institution. Female martial institution, as the name implied, this martial institution's disciples were all female disciples. They were all young and beautiful female disciples who were of various sizes. How could their existence not be eye-catching? Furthermore, the female martial institution's strength wasn't weak. After the three major martial institutions, the female martial institution was next. This year's female martial institution's leader was Yi Qimei. She was a young girl who was around 18 or 19 years old. She was wearing a light purple long dress that fluttered in the wind. Her long hair was draped over her shoulders. She had black eyebrows and almond eyes. Her skin was fair and delicate like white jade, making her look valiant and formidable. The female martial institution had always been taken care of. Furthermore, the female martial institution didn't even need to participate in the entrance exam and could directly enter the Lotus Flower Peak of the Five Elements Sex 10 Peak. It was also known as the Goddess Peak because the female martial institution was established by the first peak mistress of the Goddess Peak. Do you see that? That person who is as beautiful as a fairy is Yi Qimei. This year's female martial institution is unrivaled. I heard that she had already been accepted as the last disciple of the Goddess Peak's peak mistress. Don't judge her by her delicate appearance. This Yi Qimei's strength is probably not inferior to Gong Xiang, Chu Rinxian, and Qingfeng. Gong Xiang, Crooked Blade Immortal, Qingfeng Li, and Yi Qimei are the genius disciples of our East region. After entering the Five Elements sect, I'm afraid that our batch of disciples will have to respect the three of them. The only thing is, who knows which of the three of them is stronger? Regardless if it was the Eastern District's martial institutions or outsiders participating in the entrance exam, they couldn't help but discuss the moon-gazing martial institution, the Nine Melodies martial institution, the Sunset martial institution, and the female martial institution. The leaders of the four great martial institutions were naturally the most talked about. I heard that Gong Xiang, Chu Rinxian, and Li Qingfeng have already fought. I heard that they were evenly matched. However, this is just the three of them testing each other. None of them have shown their true abilities. I've also heard that those three men are no match for Yi Qimei. Don't you understand? Gong Xiang, Chu Rinxian, and that Qingfeng Li have all reached the fourth level of the Qi Soul Realm, the four divisions. When many people heard this, they couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Reaching the fourth level of the Qi Soul Realm at such a young age was simply shocking. For many people, it was a realm that they couldn't hope to reach. Chu Yang understood the astonishment. In the coiling dragon town, his father, Nangong, and the others were already middle-aged, but they still hadn't reached the fourth level of the Qi Soul Realm. Many people wouldn't be able to reach this realm in their lifetime. After making a general judgment about Gong Xiang and the others, Chu Yang didn't bother about them anymore. His gaze had already landed on Yi Qimei's body. Chapter 261. With the sound of flapping wings, 4 to 5 demonic birds descended from the sky. The one at the front was a white crane. Its feathers were pure and holy as it emitted a dazzling radiance. On top of the red-crowned crane was a young lady in a purple dress. She had black eyebrows and red lip. Her skin was as white as snow. She stood out from the crowd. At this moment, her watery eyes were filled with cold light. It was as if she had finally found her enemy after several reincarnations. Her face was ice-cold as she flew over like an iceberg. However, her figure was extremely hot. It was a perfect golden ratio. Her chest was big, her waist was thin, and her buttocks were plump. Her pair of slender legs made people want to pounce on her. Her fiery figure clashed with her incomparably cold body, bursting forth with an even more irresistible aura. Her holiness, her ethereal, and her otherworldly temperament caused people to have a great desire to conquer her. It was as if her fiery figure was reminding everyone that she, the saintess, had fallen for the mundane. In an instant, everyone's gazes seemed to have been sucked in. All of them fell on this young lady's body. They did not even dare to blink. No matter if it was the extremely cold temperament that kept people 1,000 miles away or that kind of seductive hot beauty, each of them was a fatal temptation. Behind the young lady, there were 2 or 3 other girls. They were also very lovely and charming. However, they were completely forgotten at this moment. Behind the girls, there were also a few men. Especially the man on the black eagle. He looked to be around 27 or 28 years old. He had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. His luxurious robe fluttered in the wind. He was very handsome and confident. There was a smile on his face. His gaze did not seem to fall on the young lady in front of him. However, it never left her. It was just that it was extremely hidden. As expected, it's this little girl. Chu Yang was sure that he did not see wrongly. This was the junior sister Ao Shui that his future sister-in-law had mentioned when he saved her. He also clearly remembered his previous great achievements. He had thrown a very big loach to her. This little girl had probably been traumatized by Chu Yang. She was actually so persistent. She knew that he was going to participate in the entrance exam of the 5 Elements sect. She started to wait for him. How much did she hate him to be like this? Chu Yang felt his scalp go numb. His strength was too far away from this little girl. If he was caught, he would definitely be beaten up. This was still considered light. Who knew what kind of terrifying things this little girl who had lost her mind could do? She wouldn't castrate herself, would she? He felt that this was very likely. His mind immediately began to work. Where could she run to? There was no big loach to mess with this little girl's mind. His somersault cloud was very reliable and could only be used once. Fuck, if I were to step on the somersault cloud and become a great hero riding on a 5-colored cloud, I would be able to do it. Wouldn't this little girl chase him to the ends of the earth? Chu Yang's eyes swept over the entrance of the Huanma secret land. It was already glowing, and the passage would probably open soon. The most important thing was the examination. If he escaped, what would happen to the examination? At this moment, Miss coldly stared at Chu Yang. In an instant, everyone's attention was on Chu Yang. It's him, Chu Yang, the genius of the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution. Many people recognized Chu Yang in an instant. Chu Yang's fame was not small now. This Chu Yang is not ordinary. The Moon Viewing Martial Institution and the 9 Bends Martial Institution had both lost to him. I heard that he is also a body cultivator. Not only is he a body cultivator, his chi is also extremely astonishing. It is especially vigorous to an outrageous extent. The Moon-Gazing Martial Insti Tushan's Gongshang, the 9 Songs Martial Insti Tushan's Crooked Blade Immortal, the Sunset Martial Insti Tushan's Li Qingfeng, and even the female Martial Insti Tushan's Yi Qimei were all paying attention to Chu Yang. This was an opponent that was completely on par with them. This Chu Yang is indeed not ordinary. He actually has a relationship with such a girl. Gong Shang was already laughing. It was obvious that this relationship wasn't good. The fairy-like girl seemed to want to eat Chu Yang alive. Chu Rinxian unconsciously pulled the curly hair on his forehead. His eyes were also filled with a smile. He believed that there would be a good show to watch. The Sunset Martial Institution's Qingfeng constantly scanned Chu Yang and Lil Miss with his big eyes. It seemed like he was trying to find some melodramatic story. He then looked at Chu Yang and praised him endlessly. A man of my generation should be like this. To be able to make a Lil Miss hate him to such an extent, it was definitely a kind of ability. Chapter 262. Little Thief. 2 streams of fire could be seen shooting out from Little Skin's watery eyes. She was clenching her teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. With a strong wind blowing down, Little Skin was about to launch a violent attack. However, Chu Yang was calm and composed. Young lady, please conduct yourself with dignity. You keep calling me a little thief. How exactly did I provoke you to make you so resentful? Damn it, we also want to know. Not to mention the crowd, the man on the Black Hawk was also staring at Chu Yang with an unusually cold gaze. He had never seen his junior sister so flustered and exasperated. When he heard his junior sister use the word little thief, he concluded that his junior sister must have suffered a great loss and was definitely taken advantage of by this bastard. Damn it, I even have to be careful when looking at my junior sister. This bastard actually dares to take advantage of my junior sister. If looks could kill, Chu Yang would have already been killed by this man 1,000 times over. In an instant, Chu Yang felt the great hostility of countless animals. Especially the killing intent of the man on the Black Hawk. He felt it even more deeply. He couldn't help but curse in his heart. Sure enough, it is a femme fatale. Whoever gets involved with her will be unlucky. He didn't stop talking and explained to Little Skin. Young lady, perhaps I look very similar to your heartless man, but please look carefully. I am really not your heartless man. If young lady doesn't believe me. Chu Yang was calm and unruffled. He then made a proof. He turned around and said to the crowd of the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution. You can ask them. I came with these senior brothers and sisters of mine from the Coiling Dragon Town all the way to the 5 Elements sect. They can testify for me. I really have never met young lady before. Chu Na, Li Hao, and the others knew that Chu Yang had definitely provoked this little fairy. And Chu Yang's fearlessness in the face of danger, and his calm and composed manner in speaking nonsense, made them endlessly admire him. He was indeed worthy of being called the little junior brother. In the air, Qian Aoshue was a little suspicious of what Chu Yang said. Could it be that I really mistook him for someone else? But then he remembered that when his senior martial sister Ding Sitong dealt with that little thief, if that little thief was serious, he would definitely look like a human demon dog. Immediately he no longer had any doubt. Thief, I'll recognize you even if you turn into ashes. Motherfucker, did this little girl really see through my little trick, or is she testing me? Forget it, I'll just believe that women are magical creatures. Their intuition is extraordinary. Shwa. Chu Yang hurriedly dodged, creating 7 or 8 phantoms that flew in 7 or 8 different directions. His real body headed straight for Gong Shang. Little Miss was very sharp and quickly locked onto Chu Yang's real body. Senior brother, our junior sister has mistaken a lover for someone else. Why don't you go up and give it a try? See if junior sister will also make a mistake. When Gong Shang saw Chu Yang heading toward him, he knew that nothing good was going to happen. He couldn't help but glare at Feng Tianhua as if saying that without him, such a thing wouldn't have happened. Great, now that they were targeted and junior sister came to denounce them, they actually had to be the first to go up. Boom. This junior sister was abnormally powerful. She arrived in an instant, and her slender hand slapped down. She seemed to be as graceful as a butterfly, but she was abnormally heavy. The surrounding air seemed to have frozen. Gong Shang's martial spirit trembled, and he almost knelt down and prostrated himself on the ground. Soul suppression. After ascending soul realm cultivators tempered and improved their martial spirit, compared to Chi Soul Realm cultivators or Origin Martial Realm cultivators who didn't have substitute martial spirits, they would produce soul suppression. Their martial spirits would be greatly suppressed, just like how a commoner would feel when they saw an emperor. Such a kind of suppression was simply like the suppression of a high-level lifeform on a low-level lifeform, like the advantage of a cat over a mouse. Bastard! Gong Shang's cultivation was very good, but at this moment, he was already cursing in his heart. Senior sister, don't hurt him by mistake. I'm enemies with this evil thief, and he used me as a shield. Shua. As Gong Shang spoke, Chu Yang had already created another 7 or 8 illusions, all of which headed toward Chu Rinxian. Qian Aoshue, this little girl, had completely heard the handsome Gong Shang's words. She was afraid of hurting the people of the Moon-Gazing Martial Arts Academy, so she hid Chu Yang in the crowd. For a moment, she really couldn't do anything to Chu Yang. Senior brother, junior sister is frustrated in love. Senior brother used to care for junior sister so much. Now you have to seize the opportunity and take advantage of it. Chapter 263. Qian Aoshue encountered the same situation again. She chased after Chu Yang and was afraid of harming others. She allowed him to escape to the Sunset Martial Institution. This senior brother looks like a phoenix among men. He is extremely masculine and manly. Everyone will love him and flowers will bloom when they see him. Senior brother, junior sister is feeling sad now. It is time for you to let junior sister lean on your firm and heavy shoulders. You are indeed a talent. When Li Chengfeng heard this, he instantly had an idea. He could see that this junior sister was kind-hearted and wouldn't recklessly harm others. Therefore, he didn't even make a move and planned to smell her fragrance. However, he didn't even smell a fart. This junior sister was extremely intelligent. After failing a few times, she completely saw through Chu Yang's little tricks and made a prediction to intercept him. However, her prediction was wrong. She only killed an illusion while Chu Yang had already scuttled to Yi Qimei's side. Senior sister, actually, I have been thinking about you day and night. Senior sister is not only valiant and formidable, but you are also capable in the kitchen. You are absolutely gentle and virtuous. When you roar at junior sister, you are like a tigress held in the sky and stepped on the ground. When Yi Qimei heard Chu Yang spouting nonsense, her charming face turned black. She finally understood why this so-called junior sister was clenching her teeth. Even she wished she could give Chu Yang a good beating. It was just that this little thief was not only hateful, but also very cunning. He used the Women's Martial Arts Institute as a shield and immediately threw it away. Chu Yang left as soon as he touched it, and Yi Qimei simply didn't have the chance to make a move. And now, everyone on the scene had witnessed Chu Yang's extreme and strange behavior. Everyone from the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution was speechless. Chu Yang had thrown his face all the way to the Five Elements sect. However, in their opinion, only Chu Yang could make their fairy-like junior sister so flustered and exasperated. Little girl, stop it. So what if this young master doesn't fancy you? If the female overlord wants to force herself on me, it is wrong for me to reject her. It was earth-shattering. Everyone instantly went into an uproar and had strange gazes. They didn't know if it was true or not. In any case, Chu Yang spoke as though it was the truth. Ka. The man on the black eagle had his teeth chattering. When Qian Aoshue saw everyone's reaction, her vision turned black. Her body trembled in midair, and she almost fell. And after seeing her reaction, she realized that many people believed him. She almost suffered internal injuries, and she almost vomited a mouthful of blood. Since you are so thirsty and want it so much, this young master will fulfill your wish. Chu Yang seemed to be angry. With a tearing sound, his clothes were torn apart. At the moment when Chu Yang was about to tear them off, Qian Aoshue screamed as if she had seen a big naked loach again. But in the end, she found out that Chu Yang was just scaring her. Chu Yang had only torn his clothes and was not naked. And at this moment, Chu Yang had already fled a very long distance away. Little thief, I will cut you into 1,000 pieces. Qian Aoshue clenched her teeth and was shocked. She saw the direction Chu Yang was escaping towards, the entrance of the Huanma secret territory. At this moment the entrance was glowing. The array was fully activated and the passage to the Huanma secret territory was opened. She immediately understood that this little thief was stalling for time and waiting to escape into the Huanma secret territory. Everyone was shocked. They never thought that Chu Yang would have such a trick up his sleeve. It seemed like he was not serious, but he already had a plan. Swish! Chu Yang's figure instantly disappeared into the Huanma secret territory, but his sarcastic words were transmitted back. Little girl, how old are you? How dare you call me a little thief? I am still a great thief. Although I am a little thief, I will not feel inferior. There was a lot of information. Li Qingfeng from the Sunset Martial Arts Academy instantly understood and grinned. No wonder the so-called junior sister was so angry. If she understood, her ears would be dirted. Also, as the saying goes, it's easy for a woman to chase a man. If you continue to chase after me, I'm really going to give in to you. Don't think that I'm lying. At most, I'll teach you a lesson, you tigress on the outside. Immediately, Chu Yang's voice became distant. Qian Aoshue chased after him but was blocked by the tactical matrix. The entrance exam had begun. Those who were not invigilators and above of the ascending soul realm were not allowed to enter. The 5 Elements sect was naturally considering the fairness of the test. What suspense would there be in the participation of ascending soul tier elites? If a profligate brought a few ascending soul tier elites into the test, and the final result of the test was actually a profligate emerging victorious, that would be even more of a joke. Little thief, if you run to the ends of the earth, I will skin you. Chapter 264. Swish. Qian Aoshue rode on her crane and instantly vanished. Even a brainless person would know that she was going to get the identity of an invigilator and enter the illusionary demon's secret realm to kill Chu Yang. Buzz. The entire place seemed to be filled with millions of bees and flies. For a moment, there was a hubbub of voices. Almost everyone had a strange expression, while many people were astonished. This Chu Yang might seem frivolous, but his strength is definitely extraordinary. That little fairy was at least at the ascending soul realm, but he was actually able to evade for a long time. He actually persisted until the illusionary demon's secret realm's passage opened and escaped. Being indecent is because you have the ability to be indecent. If you don't have the ability, you'll immediately be slapped to death by others. The rumors are true. I might not have seen this Chu Yang make a move, but I think he isn't weak. This was the discussion of a portion of the people. They were only concerned about Chu Yang's strength and didn't pay much attention to women. However, it was completely different for those who only had women in their minds. Incredible. My generation's example. In the future, when I am being chased by a beauty, I will have a case to learn from. Especially that move of ripping clothes. I admire it the most. If it was me, I would have taken off my upper body and let that little girl see my stalwart body. Brother, it seems that both of us have the same opinion. If this little girl were to see my stalwart body under these circumstances, I reckon that she would never forget it for the rest of her life. To be able to be remembered by this little girl for the rest of her life, our trip to this world was not in vain. Everyone's discussions made moon-gazing martial insti, Tushan's gong shang, 9 songs martial insti, Tushan's crooked blade immortal, Qingfeng, and Yi Qimei realized that all the radiance that belonged to them had been snatched away. At this moment, no one cared if they were Gong Shang, Chu Rinxian, Qingfeng, or Yi Qimei. They had been completely ignored by everyone. He is related to that little girl and made her so angry. Just this point alone is enough to make this Chu Yang deeply remembered by the upper echelons of the Five Elements sect. Gong Xiang shook his head and smiled bitterly. Many people wanted to get the attention of the upper echelons of the Five Elements sect, and Gong Xiang was no exception. However, who would have thought that Chu Yang was simply taking a different approach? He suddenly realized that he was a little envious of Chu Yang, and even a little jealous. He was not the only one with such thoughts. Chu Rinxian tugged at his own curly hair, and the expression on his face was somewhat interesting. He realized that it was not bad to be a clown. Ha ha! Qingfeng was already laughing loudly in the crowd. I am not alone. I, Qingfeng, will never let this Chu Yang steal all the beauties in the world. I will definitely compete with him and steal them all. When he laughed like that, he instantly became the center of attention. Another shameless one had appeared. Gong Xiang and Chu Rinxian were instantly speechless. The Sunset Martial Institute's Li Qingfeng actually followed the trend and exposed the fact that he was a clown. Chu Yang, the young man in luxurious robes who came with Qian Aoshue, hadn't left yet. His expression was extremely gloomy. Previously, the scene between Chu Yang and Qian Aoshue, the so-called girl chasing after a guy, and the conversation between the two of them had made him jealous. Perhaps, if he dug out his heart, it would have been burned to ashes. He had never seen Qian Aoshue lose her composure like this. He had never seen Qian Aoshue hate a guy to the bone, and he had never seen anyone who dared to take advantage of Qian Aoshue. Previously, every action of Chu Yang and Qian Aoshue were things that he had hoped for. However, he didn't dare to do so as he was afraid that he would make Qian Aoshue unhappy and leave a bad impression in her heart. Chapter 265. What exactly is this Chu Yang's background? What is his identity? How did he offend junior sister? These consecutive questions were quick, urgent, and extremely furious. The luxurious-robed youth's voice was as cold as ice. When the Five Elements sect's disciples beside him heard it, they felt as though they had fallen into an ice cave. How could they not know that the luxurious-robed youth was enraged? He had been coveting Qian Aoshue for a long time. This Chu Yang is finished. He actually dared to provoke Princess Aoshue and offend Ndihu. Ndihu's group of subordinate disciples were all thinking in their hearts. Their mission was probably to make this Chu Yang beg for death. Senior brethren, this Chu Yang is a disciple of the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution. I heard that his performance in the Eastern District was extremely shocking. He had defeated the three strongest martial institutions in the Eastern District, the Moon-Gazing Martial Institution and the Nine Bends Martial Institution. There was no need to inquire about this. Ndihu only needed to listen carefully to everyone's discussion to know that Ndihu wasn't satisfied. He needed to know the background of this Chu Yang before he could make a move. Otherwise, he might invite a fatal disaster. After all, if he dared to offend Qian Aoshue, how could he dare to do so without any status? Ndihu guessed that this Chu Yang's identity wasn't simple. Senior brother, don't worry. This Chu Yang doesn't have any background. He is just a country bumpkin from the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution. Just a country bumpkin. Ndihu's dissatisfaction was very obvious. Senior brother, this Chu Yang might be Chu Fei's younger brother. Immediately, a disciple suddenly spoke. When I went to investigate this bastard Chu Fei a long time ago, I found out that he has a younger brother named Chu Yang. This Chu Yang is also from the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution. This person spoke cautiously, but now I am not 100% sure that this Chu Yang is that bastard Chu Fei's younger brother. I still need to confirm it. Chu Fei. Ndihu's handsome face turned ferocious in an instant. His blue veins were throbbing and his teeth were clenched. His tiger eyes were bloodshot in an instant. He looked very frightening. Others didn't know what kind of enmity and hatred would cause this, but the subordinate disciples around Ndihu knew very well. The name Chu Fei was definitely a well-known name in the Five Elements sect. Especially in Ndihu's batch of disciples, it was absolutely like thunder in the ears. There was no one who didn't know of him. In Ndihu's batch of disciples, almost all of them were defeated by Chu Fei, ruthlessly crushed. From inner disciple to core disciple to true disciple, Chu Fei had slaughtered his way up without suffering a single defeat. In the end, he had even become the saint's son of the Five Elements sect and was bestowed with the title of unparalleled saint's son. Ndihu was the first skeleton that had set foot on the path of saint's son with Chu Fei. Chu Fei had thoroughly become famous, and he had stepped on Ndihu's dignity to reach the 9 heavens. Senior brother, from these people's discussion, I also heard that this Chu Yang is also extremely extraordinary. It seems that he had annihilated Zhao Yunlong's Zhao clan. Zhao Yunlong also came from the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution. The Zhao clan that they are talking about is most likely Zhao Yunlong's Zhao clan. Zhao Yunlong. Ndihu couldn't help but narrow his eyes. This Zhao Yunlong was an extremely sinister person. If he hadn't relied on the Burning Heaven Saint's son early on, he would have been beheaded by Chu Fei. Go, thoroughly investigate this information. You must confirm that there is no mistake. After Ndihu gave the order, he immediately sneered. If this Chu Yang is that bastard Chu Fei's younger brother, then even if Chu Yang annihilated the Zhao clan isn't true, I'm afraid with Zhao Yunlong's insidiousness, if this little bastard Chu Yang is that bastard Chu Fei's younger brother, he would absolutely not let this Chu Yang go. Yes, senior brother. Chapter 266. If Chu Yang and Qian Aoshue were a beautiful scenery, Ndihu was the evil spirit under this beautiful scenery, who was still unknown to people. The east, west, south, and north gates leading to the Huanma secret land seemed to be a dragon gate or a big sun that fell to the ground, blooming with endless light. Many disciples filed in like a school of fish, showing a scene of thousands of fish leaping over the dragon gate. Chu Yang was the first to break into the Huanma secret land. At that time, the passage was still a little stable. The moment he stepped into the Huanma secret land, it seemed that a new world was slowly unfolding in front of him, with a big black sun hanging high in the sky. It was gloomy, even the big sun seemed a little gloomy. The first feeling Chu Yang had when he stepped into the Huanma secret land was that it was gloomy, even a little gloomy. He seemed to have accidentally broken into a huge snake cave, as if he had entered an underground palace of death. In the air, there seemed to be a faint smell of death, which made people feel a little uncomfortable. However, the air also contained an extremely rich essence qi of heaven and earth, which was much richer than in the Huanlong secret land. Of course, according to what Blackie said, the so-called Coiling Dragon secret realm was just a lie. The real Coiling Dragon secret realm probably had much more yuan qi of heaven and earth than the Huanma secret realm. According to the tone of that little girl, she must be coming in to serve me tea. It's a little hard to refuse her kindness. Chu Yang frowned. The little girl was from the Five Elements sect. It seemed that her status wasn't low. If she went back like this, she would attract bees and butterflies. When she came back again, Chu Yang felt that he would definitely be beaten up until he doubted his life. No, I have to avoid this little girl no matter what. The most important thing now was not the assessment, but how to prevent Qian Aoshue from finding him. The Huanma secret land is so big. I don't believe that little girl can find me in the eastern, western, northern, and southern regions. Crack, crack. Chu Yang's body emitted the sound of bones stretching and retracting. After a while, he turned into an excessively precocious young man. His face was full of curly hair and beard. His face had also become somewhat more handsome. Unfortunately, it was covered by the curly hair on his face. Figure? Chu Yang didn't want to change. Although the Thousand Faces art could do it, it required him to maintain the stretching or compression of his bones. This was nothing. Chu Yang already felt very tired. That's it. I'll take it off and turn into a big loach for that little girl to see. Shwa. With a flicker, Chu Yang left the eastern district, heading straight for the western district. Xiaopi would definitely conduct a carpet search in the east district. The Huanma secret territory was indeed extremely vast, and the distance between the east and west regions was extremely large. Chu Yang felt that his speed was too slow after flying for a while, so he directly spread out a pair of eagle wings and flew in the sky above the Huanma secret territory. This move was somewhat risky. After all, the demon illusion secret territory wasn't simple. According to what Sima An had said earlier, there was something strange about it. All the true disciples of the Five Elements sect had died here. As for how the Five Elements sect had died, no one knew. Damn it! The worst situation had happened. Chu Yang's keen intuition told him that he was being watched by something. He was like an eagle in a painting at this moment. He was very conspicuous. Anyone who saw this painting would definitely see this eagle first. Little girl, you got me into trouble. When my strength increases, I will find a rope, a whip, and a candle. I will let you know what is wrong. The feeling of being watched quickly disappeared. Perhaps it was because the big shots of the Five Elements sect were monitoring the entire Huanma mystic realm, and he had been noticed by them because he had jumped too high and too happily. That had better be the case. Chapter 267. Rumble. Chu Yang flew at full speed. Just as he was about to fly out of the eastern district and enter the western district, the entire Huanma secret realm suddenly shook. At the same time, a bright light shone, causing the entire Huanma secret realm to suddenly brighten up. The original uncomfortable gloominess and gloom disappeared. While flying, Chu Yang glanced around and found that in the eastern, western, northern, and southern districts, there were 3 lists floating in the air. They were the ranking list, the hidden dragon list, and the record list. The 3 lists formed a triangle, and in the center was a huge eyeball like the sun. The light that made the Huanma secret realm even brighter was blooming from this huge eyeball. In addition to the eastern, western, southern, and southern districts, in the center of the Huanma secret realm, there were 3 lists and an even bigger eyeball that monitored the entire Huanma secret realm. The ranking list was very easy to understand. It was the display and record of the points that each disciple obtained in the Huanma secret realm. The hidden dragon list generally reflected the potential of everyone in the Huanma secret realm. As for how this potential was calculated, Chu Yang still didn't know. The record list, as the name implied, was very simple. It was an amazing result in the Huanma secret realm, and it would become a record and appear on the record list. The eyeball in the center of the 3 lists was naturally the Sky Eye, monitoring the entire Huanma secret realm. Bastard, you're playing with me. When Chu Yang saw these 3 lists, he was so angry that he almost fell down from the sky. He had spent so much effort to fly at full speed, and had madly rushed over. He had consumed half of his chi in an instant, but this was the result he had gotten. The eastern, western, northern, and southern districts each had 3 lists. As long as this little girl followed the list, wouldn't it be easy to know which district he was in? Damn you! Chu Yang was swearing incessantly. He was extremely depressed. But now, he had almost reached the western district. So, he had no choice but to rush towards the western district. After an unknown amount of time, Chu Yang finally arrived at the place where the 3 lists were located. At this moment, all the disciples in the western region that were participating in the entrance exam of the 5 Elements sect were gathered here. In the middle of the 3 lists, the image of a middle-aged man with a goatee appeared in the heaven's eye that was as large as the sun. He was saying a bunch of things to all the participants of the test, and he was almost at the end of the test. Chu Yang silently blended into the crowd and found a fat man who he felt should be easy to talk to. He said, "I think this brother is a heaven-blessed martial artist. He must be extraordinary. What do you think we should? Chu Yang pointed at the 3 lists in the air and said, I think we should leave our unique names on them. They should be more handsome, such as the heaven-gifted martial artist. Brother, do you think this is possible? A unique name. Do you think you can have a unique name just because you want one? The muscles on the fatty's face squirmed. Where did this guy come from? He was simply full of imagination. He spread his hands and said, You ask me? Who should I ask? Chu Yang's voice was very loud when he asked just now. Now, many people couldn't help but look over curiously. In the face of these gazes, Chu Yang acted as if nothing had happened. He turned and said to the thin-browed man, Brother, I can tell with a single glance that you know everything from the heavens to the earth. I'm sure you know. The thin-browed man couldn't help but laugh. He pointed at the old man with the goatee on the heaven's eye and said, I do know everything from the heavens to the earth. As far as I know, that old mister definitely knows the answer. Ha ha! Chu Yang was a weirdo. He actually wanted to change his name on the list. The shifty-eyed man couldn't help but laugh loudly. Yes, this brother is absolutely right. That old mister definitely knows. The shifty-eyed man's laugh immediately attracted the gazes of even more people. Chu Yang said with a look of disdain, You fool, pretending to know when you don't. But I like it. The shifty-eyed man was speechless. You're the fool. You actually want to change your name on the list. You can even think of something like this? Am I as funny as you? Watch carefully, fool. Isn't it just a question? Chu Yang held his head high and assumed a posture. Then, he raised his head and looked at the figure who had appeared in midair. Then, he said in a loud voice, Hey, Uncle Goat, can you change my name to something cool on the list? Chapter 268. This bastard really asked that question. Whether it was the fat man, the man with sparse eyebrows, or the shifty-eyed man, they couldn't help but fall down. This weirdo was simply too outrageous. What made them even more speechless was that Chu Yang actually called that person in the heaven's eye as Uncle Goat. That person had just introduced himself. He was the peak master of the divine command peak of the 10 peaks of the 5 elements sect. He had 2 tufts of beard, yet you called him Goat? Aren't you afraid that he would appear in anger and kill you with one slap? The surrounding people were mostly the same as the fat man, the man with sparse eyebrows, and the shifty-eyed man. The 3 of them had the same thought as they looked at Chu Yang with strange gazes. At this moment, the 10 elders of the 5 elements sect's divine command peak were also stunned. Ha ha! Soon, an extremely sloppy middle-aged man with disheveled hair laughed out loud. Brother Goat, that little bastard is asking you a question. What are you waiting for? Ha ha! Soon after, another 3 or 4 middle-aged men laughed out loud. The 5 elements sect's entrance examination had been going on for so many years, yet such a thing had never happened before. There had also never been a weirdo like Chu Yang who asked such an outrageous question. Who wouldn't want their name to bloom on the list? However, this weirdo actually wanted to change his name. If this weirdo didn't have some thoughts and wanted to attract their attention, he would be a weirdo. Brother Goat, you should answer. That's right, Brother Goat. This time, your divine command peak is hosting the entrance examination. You have the final say. Brother Do is right. Brother Goat, why don't you answer this little bastard? Everyone present was the peak masters of the 10 peaks of the 5 elements sect. At this moment, they couldn't help but mock the peak master of the divine command peak. There was only one female peak master, Lung Lingdai, who was the peak master of the Lotus Peak. This mature woman also revealed a smile on her charming face like a blooming peony. The peak master of the divine command peak, Sui Yunfu, was an upright person. He was strict and cautious in his actions. Usually, he didn't even smile. It was rare for a weirdo to jump out and provoke him, especially a junior. Sui Yunfu couldn't help but laugh bitterly without end. He had to admit that this junior had successfully drawn his attention, and if he had the chance, he would surely teach this little bastard a lesson. This change will affect the formation. If you want to change it, you should ask him. Sui Yunfu revealed the sloppy middle-aged man who was the first to mock him. Clearly, he wanted to drag this sloppy middle-aged man into the water as well. Chu Yang didn't disappoint Sui Yunfu in the slightest. With his hands on his hips, he shouted through the heavenly eye, "I say, sloppy great-uncle, I've changed your formation. You won't lose face and go berserk, right? I'm very worried." "Sloppy big uncle." Ha. With the exception of the sloppy middle-aged man, the other 9 people all burst into laughter. The 4 words of this sloppy king were simply too accurate, vividly describing the daily life of this sloppy king-uncle. Even the peak master of Lotus Peak, Lung Lingdai, was rocking back and forth with laughter at this moment. On the other side, where the Western region's examinees were, they were also completely shocked by Chu Yang's 4 words, "sloppy king." Their eyes were wide open. You really dared to say that? The big fatty, the one with sparse eyebrows, and the shifty-eyed one were all grimacing in pain. There was no limit to this fellow's extreme quality, and they had already quickly pulled apart the distance between them and Chu Yang. This reminded everyone in the surroundings, and they all retreated far away. That middle-aged man was sloppy, but he was definitely a higher-up of the 5 Elements sect. It wasn't impossible for him to suddenly make a move and kill Chu Yang, and they didn't want to be caught in the crossfire. "Big meatball! Eyebrows less! Thief!" Chu Yang called out the names of the 3 main culprits one by one and said disdainfully, "What kind of eyes are you 3 looking at? How could sloppy great-uncle be such a narrow-minded person? Look at what kind of thoughts you have. You're definitely measuring the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a petty person. Be careful that sloppy great-uncle doesn't fly into a rage and slap you to death. Pay. You're the big meatball. You're the one without eyebrows. You're the thief." The 3 of them stomped their feet and cursed at the same time. However, the 3 of them were really frightened. According to what Chu Yang said, the ones who would be swatted to death like flies were very likely to be them, because this tall hat of Chu Yang really made them speechless. The 3 of them almost wailed in grief. They just wanted to hide from the crossfire, but they were actually pinned with such a huge crime by this grandson. They even had the heart to cry. Chapter 269. Ha ha! On the other side, the 10 peak lords burst out in laughter. A few of them were going crazy. Sloppy Imperial Uncle was actually Long Feast, the peak lord of Sky Array Peak. Long Feast was fine with other things, but when it came to formations, he was not magnanimous at all. He was completely narrow-minded. In the past, whenever they asked him to set up a formation, he would immediately go berserk and say, "Go set up your own formation if you have the ability." Now, whether it was a coincidence or not, Chu Yang had pointed out Long Feast's biggest flaw. Moreover, he did it in such an occasion, under the attention of countless juniors. This made them extremely happy, and they vented out all their unhappiness in the past. Sloppy Imperial Uncle almost stomped his feet and roared, "Little puppy, show your grandpa Long if you have the ability." Sloppy Imperial Uncle, I'm afraid you don't have a grandson at your age. Calling me grandpa is a bit inappropriate. Chu Yang spoke again, causing the 10 peak lords to go crazy with laughter. Long Feast indeed didn't have a grandson. He didn't even have a son, so how could he have a grandson? Long Feast was about to spit fire from his nose. "Little puppy, don't let me see you, or I'll prepare some ingredients and stew you with dog meat." Sloppy Imperial Uncle, Chu Yang continued, "I'm going to tell you this. Although there are many dog lovers, you can't hold yourself back like this. Loving dog meat isn't a crime. If you want to eat dog meat, then eat it. Why do you have to find such a lousy excuse?" Ha ha! The 10 peak masters laughed even harder. Long Feast, this bad-tempered guy, was actually ridiculed by this little guy. What dog lover? Such weird words and weird excuses were actually used to ridicule Long Fij. Interesting, too interesting. Long Fis naturally didn't find it interesting at all. His vision darkened and he almost fainted. Sloppy Imperial Uncle had been a joke for a long time. His previous flaw of being perfect with formations was also ridiculed by Little Puppy. Now, he had another dog lover gimmick. Xiao Quan, you're very clever. We won't feel disgusted if you draw our attention like this. The 10 Peak Masters all agreed with this point. On Chu Yang's side, the group of examinees instantly looked at Chu Yang with bright eyes. So this was what this guy was scheming. There wasn't much skill involved, but it had successfully attracted the attention of the higher-ups of the Five Elements sect. They instantly howled in grief. Why hadn't they thought of this? Why wasn't it them? What the fuck, this grandson wasn't joking at all. He was as shrewd as a thief. The meatball, the one without eyebrows, and the thief realized that they had missed out on something. The bastard in front of them had given them a chance and pulled them in. Unfortunately, they were too slow and did not understand the meaning of superior. I'll go. The three of them were extremely gloomy. Didn't you say you were just joking around? You're making us feel very hurt. But, Xiao Quan, I dislike you very much. You'd better not let me see you, or I'll skin you alive. Hearing this, everyone felt much better. After all, there was a price to pay. Sloppy Imperial Uncle, you're judging a lowly person with the magnanimity of a gentleman. You're making me sound too noble. I'm a little embarrassed to hear your praise. This Xiao Quan. Haha, the 10 Peak Masters burst into laughter again. Long Fis directly disappeared in a huff. He couldn't give Little Puppy any face, or Little Puppy would take advantage of him even more. Chapter 270. Chu Yang really didn't have the slightest intention of pleasing these masters. The reason why he hid his name was to avoid being caught by that little girl and beaten half to death, making him doubt his life. Therefore, his main goal was to change the formation. He was serious, but where was the formation? Chu Yang looked at the 3 lists in the sky, confused. How was he supposed to change it? I say, sloppy great uncle, I don't know anything about formations. Uncle, why don't you let me see where the formation is? Long Fis ignored him. Uncle, don't tell me your formation is really shit? Seems like it should be easy to find it. Long Fis still ignored him. Seems like it. Chu Yang's last words were clearly heard by Long Fis. Long Fis almost couldn't hold back and jumped out to fight with Chu Yang. Get out of the way, get out of the way. I'm following sloppy great uncle's instructions to change the formation. Don't block my way. Chu Yang used sloppy great uncle as an imperial sword to pave the way. Long Fis was so angry that his nose was crooked. All of the examinees retreated like a receding tide wherever Chu Yang went. In an instant, he was directly below the 3 lists. Directly above his head was the enormous heaven's eye that looked like the sun. Is this hairy guy for real? No way. I guarantee that he's just joking. The formation is definitely not good. It's harder than ascending to heaven. Even ascending to heaven isn't this hard. This bastard is definitely not doing a formation. I just don't know what he's trying to do. Everyone treated Chu Yang's plan to change the formation as a joke. They thought it was impossible. Things like formations were slightly more advanced. Without a certain level of comprehension, no matter how much one studied it, it would probably be a waste of effort. Generally speaking, only geniuses with extremely high levels of comprehension would fiddle with and study such advanced things. This was because formations were simply too complicated and too taxing on one's mind. Chu Yang didn't know what to do at the moment. So, he muttered, the stuff above should be a projection. Then, he walked around looking for the formation. He looked very serious, as if he was serious. I say, monkey, that's enough. Quit while you're ahead. It knows this array formation, but you don't. The big meatball felt that Chu Yang's hairy face and monkey face were completely reasonable. As soon as he opened his mouth, he felt that he had already taken revenge on the big meatball. Big meatball, go play somewhere else. Don't disturb me from being serious. The meatball had failed. Clearly, the monkey couldn't see through Chu Yang's heart. Hairy one, I think you should go back and grow hairy. It's been half a day, have you seen where the array formation is? Long-haired guy, hurry up and stop making a fool of yourself. Formations are not suitable for you. The eyebrowless man and the thief also had a deep grudge against Chu Yang. Longhaired's sharp arrow also pierced through Chu Yang's body. Soon after, they joined forces with the meatball and issued a joint statement, forming a unified attack. Long-haired man, I can tell at a glance that you are pretending. Chu Yang cast a sidelong glance at the three of them. Your mother is calling you to go home for dinner. Hurry up and think as far away as you can. Don't come out and embarrass your parents. Bastard, the three of them realized that they had said so much, but the lethality was too weak. Whether it was the monkey or long hair, they didn't hit the bullseye with a single arrow, but this grandson could make them choke. Fuck your grandfather, I don't believe that I can't even see hair. While Chu Yang was cursing, the 10 peak masters were already in a heated discussion. This little bastard seems to really want to change the array formation. This kid really doesn't seem to know anything about arrays. He doesn't seem to be faking it. That's interesting. Humph. Long Fei said with disdain. He doesn't know shit and can only scratch his head there. What's the point? If he can make the array formation appear, I'll call him grandfather. Chapter 271. At this moment, Chu Yang had already used his genius martial spirit. The celestial wheel in his spiritual world was also rapidly rotating and deducing. For a moment, Chu Yang was sitting there motionless as if he had been petrified. He is actually serious. Is formation something that can be learned just because you want to? Ridiculous. It is extremely difficult to learn the basics of formation. He actually wants to learn it without a teacher. If he can do it, then formation is worthless. What kind of brain does such a person have? Can't he learn the basics of formation in a year and a half? He can be considered a genius if he can learn it in a year and a half. Why don't you just say that he's an idiot? Many people were surprised. Many people expressed disdain and many people ridiculed. No one thought that Chu Yang could comprehend the formation in such a short time because it was simply impossible. The requirement of comprehension for formation was too high. Therefore, the threshold to enter the formation was extremely high. The majority of people were blocked outside the formation. The big meatball, the guy without eyebrows and the thief looked at each other and started to discuss. This grandson doesn't look stupid. Could it be that he wants to use this formation for the whole assessment? It is very possible. If he makes a little noise, he will be considered a genius. I am afraid that is more powerful than anything. This grandson is a little whimsical. It is not easy to learn the basics of formation. This won't do. I have to watch him make a fool of himself first. The three of them could be considered to be very friendly. After a while, Chu Yang's posture showed that he really wanted to fight to the death with the array formation. The sarcastic voice became even more ear-piercing. But fortunately, Chu Yang was completely immersed in his own world, and didn't hear it at all. This is the simplest formation. It should be based on the terrain. It is like the military pays attention to the right time, right place and right people, Chu Yang said to himself. His genius martial spirit had already deduced many things. Immediately, he used the power of the formation. With a light buzzing sound, ripples spread out from his body. This is the fluctuation of the formation. He comprehended it so quickly. It can't be. Isn't formation more difficult than anything else? If he can comprehend formations in such a short amount of time, wouldn't that be extremely shocking? It would logically prove that he is a genius. Chu Yang's body emitted a miraculous fluctuation. Immediately, countless jaws dropped in shock. Those who were waiting to see a good show, especially those who were the most sarcastic, were stunned. They could no longer remain calm. How was this possible? Fortunately, this was not certain yet, so they still maintained their suspicions. However, the result they were waiting for made them feel very disappointed. The fluctuations on Chu Yang's body grew more and more intense. Soon after, a burst of blazing light appeared around him. Then, 4 great arrays appeared in front of everyone. Of the 4 formations, 3 of them were almost identical. They corresponded to the 3 lists, while the last formation corresponded to the heaven's eye that monitored the western district. Impossible! This is absolutely impossible! How is this possible? How is it possible for someone to comprehend the profoundness of formations in such a short period of time? Many people cried out involuntarily, as if they had seen an evil ghost. They couldn't understand why the formations suddenly became so easy. It said that it knew them, but they didn't know them. Boom! The 10 peak masters were in chaos. Especially sloppy King Longfeege. His reaction was the most intense. He suddenly stood up, causing his chair to explode. As if he had encountered a great enemy, he released a powerful aura. His eyes were fixed on Chu Yang through the heaven's eye that monitored the western district. The other 9 peak masters were also very shocked. However, after seeing Longfeege's reaction, they were convinced of this fact. It seems that this kid is indeed an unparalleled genius in the art of formations. His talent is peerless. Until just now I was still suspecting that this kid already knew about formations. It was just that he hid it so well that we didn't notice it. However, with Sloppy King's reaction, I've eliminated this suspicion. Indeed, those who cultivate formations will definitely have the aura of formations. Even we can sense it, let alone this sharp-eyed Sloppy King. Now we can be sure that this kid's talent is unparalleled. He seems to have manifested formations based on his conception. The 9 continued to discuss, but Longfeast didn't move at all. Even his eyes didn't blink. Seeing him like this, the 9 immediately knew how shocked Longfeast, the Sloppy King, was. He couldn't believe it. Chapter 272. Haha, isn't it just a broken spider web? Do you think this is enough to stump me? Don't you know that I'm invincible and omnipotent? Today, this young master will open your eyes. Broken spider web? This brat really dared to say that. The 9 peak masters felt that Sloppy King Longfeast was about to explode. They all looked at Longfeast. Longfeast's eyes were fixed on Chu Yang. However, he knew that the 9 people were looking at him. Surprisingly, he didn't go berserk. Instead, his voice was extremely calm. He even revealed a trace of reminiscence. The formation is indeed just a broken spider web. The 9 peak masters looked at each other in astonishment. This Sloppy King actually did not go berserk and roar. It was truly strange. Don't look at me like that. Back then, when I was comprehending the 5 elements formation, I accidentally touched the soul imprint of the founder. He said this to me, and I suddenly saw the light. I had an epiphany in the Tao of formations, and I've improved greatly over the years. Founder. The founder that Longfeast mentioned was the founder of the 5 Elements sect, the 5 Elements Patriarch. Chu Yang only had a preliminary understanding of formations, but his point of view was the same as the founders. That was a little scary. The formation was merely a broken spiderweb. After pondering for a while, the 9 peak leaders were able to figure out the mysteries behind it and simplified it. The path of formations was extremely profound and complicated. If one could simplify the complicated, then the path of formations would naturally improve. However, this kid had only just started learning formations, and he had already reached such a height? That shouldn't be possible. It should be a manifestation of his pure and innocent heart when he first learned the Tao of array formations. This kid's comprehension is extremely high. I'm afraid he's not just talented in formations. The Thousand Sword Peak has a lesser Thousand Swords formation that's very suitable for him. After Du Guangbo, the Peak Master of the Thousand Sword Peak, spoke, a few others followed suit. The 10 peaks of the 5 Elements sect were Lotus Peak, Divine Command Peak, Medicine Peak, Sky Formation Peak, Mist Peak, Thousand Sword Peak, Sky Thunder Peak, Giant Peak, White Tiger Peak, and Raging Flame Peak. There were 10 peaks in total. At this moment, the 10 peak masters who were present all wanted to take Chu Yang in as their disciple. If formations are added to the Tao of Pill Refinement, it will definitely be more exquisite. Mu Hongyi, the peak master of Medicine Peak, said, "If this kid becomes my disciple, he will definitely have a bright future and become a supreme pill refiner. Pill refinement is good, but I think he'll do even better if he joins my Sky Thunder Peak. I think this kid is very naughty and mischievous. My Mount Wu is cold and lifeless. We need a monkey like this to set the atmosphere. I think he and Mount Wu are the most suitable. They were planning to snatch him. Sharks were very good at recognizing good stuff." Long Feast's reaction was huge. He suddenly turned around and glared at the 9 people. "Du Guangbo, Mu Hongyi, Yu Jingfu, and you Jiarong, you damn fish. Try to snatch him for me. If I don't make a mess of your sect, I'll change my surname to yours." This bastard! The few of them were depressed. Long Feast, this sloppy king, was really capable. All he needed to do was to set up a trap outside their sect, and they would be in deep trouble. Don't think that Long Feast wouldn't do such a thing. The few of them kept quiet. Everyone had to be willing to become a disciple. They could just use their methods when the time came. Chapter 273. Sui Yunfu was the only one among the 9 who was not afraid of Long Feast's matrices. Divine Command Peak's beast taming and puppet manipulation were all related to matrices, which was why he was listed as Long Feast's biggest potential opponent. "This kid is indeed extraordinary," Sui Yunfu retorted and said seriously, "It's not impossible for him to join Divine Command Peak." "Goatee, are you trying to make life difficult for me?" Long Feast roared. Nothing had happened yet, but the 10 peak masters were already fighting over him. If the other examinees knew about this, they would probably go crazy with envy. "You only need to change 3 formations. It's not a big change, but you just need to embed my intentions in them." Chu Yang's voice came from the Heaven's Eye, attracting the attention of the 10 peak masters. The 4 formations each corresponded to 1 item. Chu Yang only needed to change 3 of the lists, which meant he needed to comprehend the formations of the 3 lists. If 1 formation was understood, then all 3 would be understood. As for the last formation, it was even more complicated. Chu Yang did not plan to study the Heaven's Eye formation at all. He immediately looked at one of the 3 formations and observed it carefully. He muttered to himself, "These straight lines, curves, and hooks are spider webs. These squares and circles are spiders. Spider webs. Spiders." Many of the people present could no longer remain calm after comparing the array formation to such an extent. A high-level array formation had actually been belittled to such an extent. The big meatball could not help but walk to Chu Yang's side and poked him. "Monkey, be careful with your words, or your sloppy great-uncle might go berserk." The one without eyebrows also agreed, "Monkey, you need to have some taste. Yeah, talking is an art. Don't spout nonsense with that mouth of yours." The thief also spoke up enthusiastically. Everyone agreed with the 3's words. Chu Yang was fully focused on deriving the formation. Being disturbed by the 3, he was immediately annoyed. "Big meatball, are you bored out of your mind? I can tell that you've been an idiot since you were young. You'll definitely score 0 in your exams." The big meatball glared at him. "I'm kindly reminding you to watch your words, but you're making me out to be an idiot. You thief, it seems that stealing definitely doesn't require any skill. You're just a disgrace to thieves. Hurry up and practice your skills. Also, the one without eyebrows. From what I see, your results are probably the same as your eyebrows. Your points are transparent, so I'm afraid you don't have much points. Although the guy with no eyebrows and the thief were also choked, the word points had slammed into their heads, so they couldn't care less about their anger. Now that the test had begun, they were actually here to watch the show. Were they stupid? Boom. There was an uproar in the crowd. Someone shouted, "I'm afraid that the East, South, and North districts have already started fighting for points. Maybe we'll be delayed by this top-grade item, and the West districts will be at the bottom of the rankings. This top grade is simply a nuisance. That's right, we're about to become a joke." Just as the people in the West districts were in an uproar, the East district's rankings in the sky lit up. 3 names appeared: Gong Shang, Chu Rinxian, and Li Qingfeng. The 3 of them were tied for first place. The North and South districts' rankings also lit up, and names appeared one after another. The people in the West districts were in an uproar. This meant that they were already one step behind in the test. Perhaps this slight disadvantage would cause them to be very passive in the end. Let's go, let's go. Don't waste any time here. If we're at a disadvantage in this test, we might be at a disadvantage for the rest of our lives. That sounds exaggerated, but it's really possible. We're all at the same starting line. Whoever is worse than the other will lose at the starting line. It's really irreversible. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In an instant, the sound of air being torn apart rang out. Countless people in the West districts scattered in an instant, and soon there was no one left. It's finally quiet now. Chu Yang also began to wholeheartedly immerse himself in the study, research, and deduction of arrays. He also wanted to fight for points. Screech! Suddenly, at this moment, a high-pitched cry of a crane came from afar. Immediately, a fairy-like girl came over on a crane, attracting the attention of all the people in the West districts. Chapter 274. The little girl didn't come directly to Chu Yang, which made Chu Yang slightly relieved. However, he immediately heard the little girl's question. "Have you seen this little thief?" Looking up, Chu Yang's sharp eyes could see very far and also very clearly. He saw her open a scroll, and Chu Yang's despicable appearance instantly jumped out. This damned little girl, she used too much strength. If I was caught by her, I might really be consigned to eternal damnation. Chu Yang was somewhat puzzled. How did this little girl find this place so quickly? "Senior sister, I have never seen this person before." "Look carefully, you really haven't seen him before?" Ndihu's voice was heard. He led a group of people behind Qian Aoshue, and he worked even harder than Qian Aoshue. Chu Yang didn't recognize Ndihu, and he didn't know about the grudge between Ndihu and his big brother, Chu Fei. However, when he looked at Ndihu, he cursed in his heart. "Your grandfather, you plaything, do you really think that little girl is yours?" "Senior brother, I really haven't seen this person before." "What about you?" Ndihu asked the big meatball. The meatball's fat hand touched his chin. After pondering for a while, he pointed in Chu Yang's direction and said, "I haven't seen this person before, but this despicable appearance seems very familiar to me. There's one over there. Big meatball, if I have the chance, I will definitely lose weight and cut off all the fat on your body." Chu Yang's heart thumped. He didn't know if the Thousand Faces art could fool this little girl, but he could only pretend that nothing had happened, and his mouth kept muttering to himself. Square spider. Round spider. Triangular spider. Whoosh. In an instant, Qian Aoshue and Ndihu had already arrived in front of Chu Yang. When they saw that Chu Yang was studying the formation, they could not help but be surprised. People who were proficient in formations were usually not simple. Qian Aoshue seemed to have a pair of sharp eyes. She fixed her eyes on Chu Yang and carefully observed Chu Yang. Chu Yang pretended to study the array formation, looking aloof and detached. He kept muttering to himself, "There are also oval-shaped spiders, 5 pointed spiders, 6 six-aligned spiders, and 7 star spiders. So many spiders. There are at least 30 of them in total. Suddenly, Chu Yang didn't even raise his head. He suddenly opened his mouth and said, "This junior martial sister, aren't men very handsome when they are serious? Have you fallen in love with me?" Just like what that meatball had said, this person was indeed a slut. Qian Aoshue frowned. The person in front of her was definitely not that little thief, but his tone was almost the same as that little thief's, which made her very suspicious. And Dihu was angry and immediately gave a look to the people around him. Immediately, someone angrily rebuked, "How dare you? If you dare to be frivolous and speak dirty words again, do you believe that I won't cut off your tongue?" "Bastard!" Chu Yang sneered in his heart. "I want to see how many people you can be jealous of. Not to mention that there are so many men in the world, I alone can make you jealous to death with just a few changes of my appearance. Junior sister, you are simply a femme fatale. You are staring at me, so you are obviously interested in me. This makes me very shy. But now, besides being shy, I am also very scared. Junior sister, those people around you are really terrible and domineering. I am scared to death." Soon after, Chu Yang didn't hide his sarcasm as he said sarcastically, "I say, you guys, you're taking care of this junior sister so attentively. Have you long regarded this junior sister as your exclusive property? Then why don't you put a tag on her face and make a note, 'She's mine, and I'll kill whoever touches her'? You are courting death. Chop him up. You don't know what death is." Suddenly, they were furious. And Dihu's thoughts were exposed. He was angry and worried. He carefully looked at Qian Aoshue. Sure enough, he saw that her face was very ugly, and the killing intent in his heart was uncontrollable. Chapter 275. Chu Yang smiled and pointed at the heavenly eye above his head. "My Uncle Goat and sloppy great-uncle are watching from above. Try touching me and I'll teach you how to be a proper person." And Dihu could not help but withdraw his killing intent. He clearly knew who was monitoring the scene through that heaven's eye. It was the 10 peak masters of the 5-element sect. Therefore, he couldn't be too presumptuous. "Get out of here. Don't disturb me when I'm studying formations. Otherwise, I won't let you go." Qian Aoshue and Ndihu didn't move. Chu Yang was too lazy to pay attention to them. He muttered to himself again, 30 spiders are all men, but only one woman. My sloppy great-uncle, this is too much. How can a woman serve 30 men? This scene is too beautiful. I don't dare to look. Oh my God, sloppy imperial uncle's heart is simply too evil and dark. He's simply a demon. No matter what, he has to think for that woman. A woman facing off against over 30 people, isn't she too pitiful? Also, he has to pay attention to his image. This is too immoral. 30 men against one woman. No matter how you look at it, it's too much. It's too inhumane, too dirty, too filthy. Qian Aoshue's face was already red. This bastard dared to talk about such filthy things in front of a girl. Puppy. Long Feast's sloppy appearance appeared in the heavenly eye. He roared, and it seemed like there was a huge sound wave coming from the heavenly eye. Qian Aoshue and Ndihu couldn't help but be shocked. This bastard wasn't simple. Sloppy great-uncle, can you not be so agitated? Sloppy great-uncle. Both Qian Aoshue and Ndihu were stunned. He actually called Long Feast, this bad-tempered sloppy great-uncle? Sloppy great-uncle, don't be like this. I'm just joking. My understanding of formations is very precise. I know very well that sloppy great-uncle is definitely not an immoral person. That's it. How could Long Feast not understand this sarcasm? Chu Yang's voice rang out again. This is a melodramatic love story between 30 men and one woman. This spider, for example, is this handsome guy in front of us. Chu Yang pointed directly at Ndihu. There are many spiders like him, and most of them think that this female spider is rightfully his. They even treat this female spider as their exclusive property, and no one can touch it. As for this female spider, she should be the femme fatale in front of me. Chu Yang then pointed to Qian Aoshu. She is the absolute protagonist in the love story of more than 30 men and a woman. For her, 30 men are too few, 3,000 is not enough, and 300 million is barely enough. Bastard, you're the female spider, your whole family are female spiders, you're the one who wants 300 million men. Qian Aoshue's ears were dirty when she heard that. Her face was so red that it couldn't be redder. It couldn't be hotter, and she had goosebumps all over her body. 30 men and 1 woman. Such a beautiful image kept appearing in her mind. The more she wanted to get rid of it, the more she couldn't. Extremely disgusting. Unforgivable. She couldn't wait to cut Chu Yang into pieces. How could he use her to talk about such a disgusting thing? Little junior sister, this is just an example. Don't imagine yourself as that female spider. You're a girl, yet you're so shameless. How could you imagine such a shameful thing? Qian Aoshua staggered and almost fell. This bastard wasn't done yet. Little junior sister, I'll give you a suggestion. Don't have too many men, just enough is enough. She was furious. At this moment, her eyes suddenly widened, and a line of words appeared in the formation. Little junior sister, I know I'm very handsome, but please don't fall for me. I'm allergic to femme fatale. Allergic to femme fatale? These words clearly meant that her jade arm was the pillow of thousands, and her red lips were tasted by tens of thousands. Chapter 276. Little Snowy, give him a good thrashing. Just kill him. From the heaven's eye in the sky, the sloppy great king's voice rumbled like thunder. As soon as it entered the ears of the little girl, Qian Aoshue, who was in the middle of beating someone, suddenly staggered and almost fell to the ground. Little Snowy, what the hell? Can't you say something nicer? Sloppy great-uncle's 3 words, Little Snowy, made Qian Aoshue feel like she was about to explode. And this sentence had simply become Chu Yang's best defense. Qian Aoshue realized that she definitely didn't look at the almanac when she went out today. If this bastard in front of her heard the name Little Snowy, she would probably die from embarrassment. This kind of nickname was too intimate. It was as if she and her future husband were sweetly calling each other names. After a short pause, her attack still arrived as planned. However, before it reached Chu Yang, it smashed into a barrier. The formation Chu Yang was in suddenly blossomed with endless radiance. It was incomparably dazzling. The formation had blocked the attack. How was this possible? Qian Aoshue, Ndihu and the others were still fine. They didn't have much of a reaction because they could believe that Chu Yang was proficient in formations. However, the sloppy great-uncle couldn't. At this moment, within the heaven's eye in the sky, the sloppy great-uncle's eyes bulged. It seemed as if they were about to fall and become the son and daughter of the heaven's eye in the sky. He also froze in an instant. His expression became still. Boom! The heaven's eye in the air instantly erupted with dazzling light at this moment. Qian Aoshue, Ndihu and the others only saw the divine manipulation peak, lotus peak, thousand-sword peak and the other 10 peak masters appear together. They huddled together like commoners watching a bustling scene in a bustling city. Their appearance was very undignified and even somewhat laughable. It did not match their status at all, especially the expression on their faces. It was as if they had seen the revival of the 5 Elements sect's founder. It was as if the sky had collapsed and the earth had sunk. They were in such disbelief as they stared blankly at Chu Yang, who had also lit up in the formation. He became the eye of the formation and fused with the formation. Sui Yunfu, the peak master of the Divine Command Peak, said. His voice was like a needle that pierced a balloon. The 10 peak masters instantly exploded. It was as if the frozen world was trying to catch up with time because of the pause just now. Everyone's expressions and words were extremely fast. Qian Aoshue was speechless for a while. Do you have to make such an expression? Isn't he just a bastard who is proficient in formations? You guys don't look like the peak masters of the Five Elements sect at all. You guys are making such a big fuss out of nothing. It'll be embarrassing if word gets out. You're making it seem like the Five Elements sect is made up of country bumpkins who don't know anything about formations. Little Pimp really couldn't figure it out. Although array formations were difficult, it shouldn't be so advanced. However, when she heard a loud boom coming from the sky, she was instantly petrified. This little brat is a little too ridiculous. How long has it been? He has actually comprehended formations to such an extent. He's a miracle in the field of formations. He reached the small accomplishment from the entry stage in such a short time. Are our eyes playing tricks on us? Why do I feel that it's so unreal? Why don't we let little Qian try again? At this moment, after the formation blocked the attack, it had already calmed down and the light disappeared. Little Qian, beat this little bastard up again. Little Snowy, beat him up for me. Little Ow, don't be afraid. Beat him to death. Use all your strength. After Little Snowy, Little Qian and Little Ow all came out. In the past, Qian Aoshue would have already pulled their beards or pulled their hair when they called her that. However, she didn't have any reaction at all now. It was as if she had fallen in love at first sight. She stared at Chu Yang with infatuation without blinking. He has just touched the entry stage in formations, and he has reached the small accomplishment. Chapter 277. Qian Aoshue had tried to learn about formations before, but after more than a month, she still hadn't learned anything. However, what did she just hear? This bastard who had called her a broken shoe had not only learned the basics of formations in just a short while, but had even reached the small success stage. Hee hee. Chu Yang looked at the sloppy imperial uncle in the air, then looked at Qian Aoshue and laughed. Sloppy imperial uncle, you're an old cow eating young grass. Your little Shueshue is very good. She has a big butt and is easy to give birth to. Giving birth to 7 or 8 children shouldn't be a problem. An old cow eating young grass. The 10 peak masters in the air were like 10 fish in boiling water. However, in an instant it was as if a world of ice had arrived. The boiling water suddenly dropped in temperature and froze. The other 9 people unconsciously looked at the sloppy imperial uncle with a strange expression. As for the sloppy imperial uncle, he was shocked silly. He actually pointed at himself in disbelief and said, "Me? I'm an old cow eating young grass." Soon after, the sloppy imperial uncle reacted and roared, "Little dog, what kind of dog fart are you spouting?" Qian Aoshue was also like a picture of a demoness that had been torn apart. She was like a 9-tailed fox that had broken out of a seal and rushed out. She screamed incessantly, revealing her 9-tailed fox fangs and claws. It was as if she was venting out all the resentment that had been sealed for thousands of years. "I'm going to kill you!" She was completely driven mad. Previously, this bastard had said that her jade arm could be used as a pillow by 1,000 people, and her red lips could be used by 10,000 people. Now, he actually said that she had hooked up with an elder. Did she still want to live? If this matter were to spread out, she would have no face to see anyone. She would have no face to live. Boom, boom, boom. Qian Aoshue went completely berserk and crazily bombarded the formation. She looked soft and weak, but now, her explosive body was bursting with attacks that were as explosive as her body. The formation emitted dazzling rays of light, and even started to shake. This made Chu Yang startled. This little girl is so powerful. She better not break the formation. Otherwise, I won't even know how I will die. Thank goodness. After a while, he completely relaxed. The formation was extremely sturdy. If the formation could be destroyed, the list in the air would be destroyed. Therefore, the formation was not that weak. Chu Yang calmed down and started to tease them again. Sloppy great uncle, sloppy great aunt, even if I exposed your adultery, you don't have to be like this. Isn't it just a relationship between an old man and a young woman? This is something I can understand. So, do you have to be like this? It's not like you don't have the face to go out and meet people. If you go out like this, you won't have the face to see anyone. The sloppy great king was about to rush out of the heaven's eye and beat this little dog, Chu Yang, to death. This little dog was too much of a bastard. He actually dared to talk about him without any bottom line. As for Qian Aoshue, her pretty face was completely red, and her attacks became even more violent. She gnashed her teeth as if she was gnawing on Chu Yang's bones. Little girl, I can't take care of you now. I will anger you to death. When Chu Yang saw her furious appearance, his heart bloomed with joy. Then, he opened his mouth and said, Sloppy great aunt, I know you have taken a fancy to me and want to be with me behind my sloppy great uncle's back. However, I really can't do such an extremely dirty thing. This is because I have a bottom line. Sloppy great aunt, please have some self-respect. Qian Aoshue was angered again and again. She almost died from anger. In the end, she completely broke away from her female form and turned into a huge ferocious beast. She screamed continuously, and her voice soared up the pitch. Ah! I am going to kill you, you bastard! Her furious appearance made Chu Yang feel a little guilty. He seemed to have gone too far. Chapter 278. Chu Yang laid on the ground and fell into a deep sleep in an instant. Snore! In an instant, his snoring rang out. The 10 peak masters and Dihu and the others were all stunned. Even Qian Aoshue, who was in a frenzy, couldn't help but become quiet at this moment. He fell asleep. He actually fell asleep. He actually fell asleep in an instant and even started snoring. He fell asleep as soon as he laid down. It was simply unbelievable. Qian Aoshue's watery eyes were filled with astonishment. She was so angry that she almost fainted. This was the greatest contempt and mockery towards her. At this moment, Chu Yang's snoring seemed to be saying to her, Silly girl, are you crazy? You know you can't break the formation, yet you still crazily attack it. Are you really crazy or just faking it? If you have the strength, my heart will ache. What about your tender little hands? If you don't, then my heart will ache. The more Qian Aoshue looked at Chu Yang, the angrier she became. Her chest was like a vast ocean, rising and falling like waves. She was so angry that she was panting heavily. Her chest was like a bellows. Although this little puppy is self-taught, studying the formation must have exhausted a great deal of his mind and energy. He must be exhausted. He's only exhausted, yet he's already at this level. This is simply unheard of. He can be said to be a supreme genius on the path of formations. I even think that he was born because of formations. I really can't imagine how he could go from beginner level to small success in formations in just 1 hour. There will always be such a person in this world. He's extremely dazzling and arrogant. Our 5 elements sex examination this year will probably have a great harvest. Not to mention anything else, just this little puppy alone is far better than all the previous years. The 10 peak masters exclaimed endlessly. Their evaluation of Chu Yang was extremely high. There was probably no one who could make the 10 of them give such a unified evaluation, a monster, a peerless monster. This Chu Yang was unparalleled. Hearing this, Dihu felt a burst of jealousy in his heart. It was as if a piece of meat was being roasted over a fire, sizzling and tormenting. Why wasn't he such a person? Why didn't he receive such discussions, such exclamations, and such admiration? It's just that this little dog's mouth is a little poisonous. He slandered a girl's reputation like this. It's a little undesirable. His temper is a little bad. No, no, no. The 10 Peak Masters began to discuss Chu Yang's character again. I think Xiao Quan and Ao Shui are like a tortoise against a mung bean. They are born to be enemies. That makes sense. This little puppy only said a few words, and it could make Ao Shui so angry. If they aren't enemies, then what are they? If you put it this way, it is indeed very reasonable. That girl Ao Shui has found someone who can control her this time. Ha ha! A group of shameless old men burst into laughter. They all forgot that Qian Aoshui was listening below. Also, this little puppy has ruined Ao Shui's reputation. Only he can marry Ao Shui. Ah! Qian Aoshui couldn't stand it anymore and screamed. Her face was completely red, and she was extremely embarrassed. She fiercely stomped her feet and immediately fled. To her, this place was simply hell. There were simply too many evil spirits there. Ha ha! The laughter from the heaven's eye became even louder. It seems like it is indeed so. This is also a good thing. With Ao Shui tying up this little puppy, he can only obediently work like a horse for our 5-element sect. When these words entered his ears, Andihu's eardrums were pierced. His heart, liver, and lungs were all pierced through as well. It was unbearable and even more unbearable. Chapter 279. Generally speaking, according to Qian Aoshui's character, if she was an enemy and her reputation was ruined, she would only have a murderous look on her face. She should be unmoved. This was reasonable, but what was the result? Qian Aoshui blushed, screamed, and lost her self-control several times. Andihu couldn't remember clearly. It was impossible for him to cause such emotional fluctuations in Qian Aoshui. He didn't have the ability to do so. If they are enemies, then what am I? In an instant, Andihu's killing intent towards Chu Yang was stronger than ever. This killing intent had nothing to do with Chu Yang's elder brother, Chu Fei. This pure killing intent was only because of Chu Yang. He had made up his mind to kill Chu Yang no matter what. This thought was very firm and unshakable. Therefore, he was waiting. Chu Yang would eventually come out of the formation and participate in the assessment. At that time, it would be the time for him to make his move. However, Andihu waited until it was dark, but Chu Yang still didn't show any signs of waking up. At this time, many disciples in the western region returned after dark. The world at night was the world of ferocious beasts. It was very dangerous, so it was not suitable to move at night. The formation was definitely the safest place. Damn it! Andihu couldn't wait any longer. He could only grit his teeth and leave. Chu Yang was indeed exhausted to the extreme. Every time he snored, it meant that his mind had been exhausted to the extreme. And his mind had indeed been exhausted to the extreme. It was his first time coming into contact with a formation, so he knew nothing about it. From the appearance of the formation, to the comprehension of every detail of the formation, to the complete understanding of the formation, and learning how to use the formation, it was all thanks to the genius martial soul and the powerful deduction of the universal globe. Among them, the consumption of the genius martial spirit was the greatest. However, this was to be expected. The comprehension of the formation was originally difficult and obscure. Chu Yang walked an unorthodox path. There was no one to guide him. It was easy to imagine how difficult it was to figure out and deduce it bit by bit. Chu Yang didn't know anything about alchemy in the beginning. But he had obtained a medicinal pill. Then, he analyzed the ingredients of the medicinal pill bit by bit. After that, he learned about the medicinal pills that were required to refine the medicinal pills. But he still had to think about how to refine the medicinal pills. It was through this process that Chu Yang was able to comprehend and develop his own alchemy skills with the help of a single elixir, and become an alchemist. It was very likely that his alchemy technique was completely different from others. It was a completely new alchemy technique. It was also possible that his alchemy technique was no different from ordinary alchemy technique. However, there was definitely something unique about him. After all, this was an alchemy technique that he had deduced and created himself. This was the same for formations. At this moment, Chu Yang had created his own formation and was gradually forming his own formation system. This was even more shocking than what the sloppy great-uncle had imagined. If he had known, Chu Yang would have been captured by him and locked in a cage. I wonder if my comprehension is correct? Finally, he had reached the most crucial step. All of Chu Yang's deductions and the embryonic form of his own formation theory had to be verified before he could say that it was a success. Let's see what happens next. I actually spent so much effort on this little girl. If I don't succeed, who knows how much more time will be wasted. Chapter 280. In the middle of the night, the Huanma's secret territory was completely dark without a trace of light. It was so dark that one couldn't even see one's own fingers. The wind was blowing from time to time, and the roar of demon beasts could be heard from time to time. My seal technique is called Tian-Yin. Chu Yang had comprehended the formation from the perspective of the right time, the right place, the right people, and the right momentum. Therefore, his hand seals were naturally closely related to these three aspects. Tian-Yin, there must be at least wind, cloud, thunder, lightning, cloudy, sunny, rain, snow, and many other weather conditions. Wind, he had. Wind Killer Sword, and the wind control talent from the Wind Tiger Monster Core. Clouds, he also had. The first thing the Mahamayuri scripture cultivated was to form the five-colored cloud. Of course, this was not possible. However, he had the innate water constitution. Water turned into Qi, and Qi turned into cloud. Therefore, clouds, rain, and snow were not a problem for him. Thunder and lightning were troublesome. He had never learned about thunder and lightning cultivation method. Lack of thunder and lightning, I don't know if my Tian-Yin can be formed, let's try to know. Chu Yang's real elemental energy surged, and as he began to form his own heavenly seal, not only did a bright light appear from his hand, but the array also lit up, tearing a hole in the dark curtain of the night. Because of the change in light and darkness, many disciples who were participating in the assessment immediately woke up. After all, in a place like the Huanma's secret territory, everyone was very vigilant, and at this time, they were already looking at Chu Yang with incomparable surprise. In their view, Chu Yang was definitely a weirdo, not in the assessment, but fiddled with the formation. Why did he have to fiddle with the formation at this time? I say, monkey, are you stupid? Now is the entrance assessment. You are still wasting time on the formation? The big meatball was very close to Chu Yang, and as soon as he opened his mouth, two voices sounded. Big meatball, why do you dare to do this to him? Wait for your good intentions to become evil again. This grandson is obviously not a plaything, just let his brain be sick. Of course, this was the eyebrowless thief and the other two playthings. Although Chu Yang was now making a noise, they were still not optimistic about Chu Yang. In the darkness, of course, there were not only the voices of the three, but these voices were much more harsh than the three. Is this idiot treating the formation as a test? Looking at his posture, you can roughly understand it, but even if he has some understanding of the formation, just like now, how many points can he get? What can he do? He is simply stupid. Don't you know another word for the best, idiot? After his little trick succeeded to attract the attention of the 5 elements sect, I think he is a little stupid. Chu Yang didn't care about this. He didn't even hear it. At this moment, the heavenly seal formed by the vital essence in his hand was twisting and changing. It suddenly shrank and expanded. Soon after, it exploded with a bang and turned into a dazzling ball of light. Sure. To Chu Yang to God. Laughter, the sarcastic voices. Nay, to it, to twos. Ridiculous, is the formation so easy? Don't say that. I guess he has been studying the formation diligently before the assessment, forgetting to eat and sleep, waiting for this moment to amaze the world, so you will make him very sad. Ha ha! In the darkness, the laughter was particularly loud, but, scared to death, your grandpa dragon. Suddenly, the voice from the heavenly eye made all the voices disappear in an instant. Some people seemed to be frozen in an instant, and their skeptical expressions were somewhat funny. Scared to death. Was what this guy did just very scary? That couldn't be. Everything that person did just now was very ordinary. How could it be so shocking? Was there something wrong with that person in the heaven's eye? Chapter 281. The person in the heaven's eye was the sloppy king, Long Fij. He was about to go crazy. Chu Yang's talent in array formation was astonishing. Therefore, he had been paying attention to Chu Yang. Moreover, he was the one who had arranged the array formation. So, he would instantly know if Chu Yang made any movements in the array formation. Oh my God, what did this little puppy do just now? He almost formed the heavenly seal. Long Fils looked like he was scared to death. Even now, he still had a lingering fear, as if he had just escaped death. After a while, his mind was still in a mess. How is this possible? How could Shao Quan skip so many seals and form the heaven seal? He was already doubting his life. Initial seal, transformation seal, fusion seal, puppy doesn't seem to know anything about them. Fire seal, water seal, wood seal, and so on, he doesn't even know shit about them. But how did he almost form the heaven seal? He couldn't understand, he really couldn't understand. Anyone who learned formations would start with the initial seal, which was what Chu Yang said. The square spiders, round spiders, and other spiders in the formation. After that, it was the change seal. This was very simple. The square spiders would become round spiders, and round spiders would become square spiders. After that, it was the fusion of the initial seal. This was called the fusion seal. The initial seal, the transformation seal, and the fusion seal were all non-elemental seal technique. They were also the most basic and simplest seal techniques in the formation. These three seal techniques could be said to be the foundation of the formation. Only after mastering these three seal techniques could one proceed to the next step, which was the metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, and other elemental seal technique. Only after mastering these seals could one come into contact with the heaven, earth, and man seals. But what did Chu Yang do? What did he do? When Long Fij was learning formations, he took 3 years to learn the 3 basic seals, another 3 years to form the metal, wood, water, fire, and earth elemental seals, and another 3 years to form the heaven, earth, and man seals. The entire process took him 9 years. 9 whole years, and even then, he was still called a genius in array formations. But what was happening in front of him? He, Long Fils, had studied hard for 9 years and barely managed to do it, but Shao Quan had almost done it in less than a day. What was this? Didn't this mean that he could go and die? What a bullshit array formation genius. He was the disgrace of the array formation world. Long Fei's concept of formations was completely overturned by the scene before him. Chu Yang was doing the exact opposite. The 3 seals of heaven, earth, water, fire and earth were followed by the seals of metal, wood, water, fire and earth, followed by the initial seal, the transformation seal, and the fusion seal. Everything went against the ironclad laws of the Tao of formations. No, I definitely can't let those formation trash know about this, especially that dog Sui Yunfu. Long Fils immediately cut off the connection between the other 9 peak masters and the heaven's eye. This was far from enough. He muttered again, the matter of me learning array formations in the past was also a difficult problem. If this little dog knew that it was so difficult for me to learn array formations in the past, wouldn't I be embarrassed? Long Fils' face reddened at the thought of how difficult it was for him to learn formations. He was so ugly. Compared to Chu Yang, he was like a maggot that struggled to move forward. Chu Yang, on the other hand, was like a real dragon that disappeared with a whoosh. I need to find a way to cover up my shameful past. But those formation trash know all about my past. While Long Feast was frowning, Chu Yang was already trying to form the heaven seal again. Pung! Flames appeared in one of Chu Yang's hands and water appeared in the other. Long Feast was stunned. Water and fire. Then, he exclaimed, water and fire can be yin and yang. How did Xiao Quan know to use yin and yang to form the heaven seal so quickly? Impossible, absolutely impossible. He must have guessed it. Long Feast jumped up again. He was scared half to death again. Chapter 282. Chu Yang's way of thinking was completely different from Long Feast. It had nothing to do with yin and yang. Even though they were essentially the same, their perspectives were completely different. To Chu Yang, water and fire were not yin and yang, but heat and cold. He was using the perspective of another world to understand the changes in the weather. In another world, the changes in the weather were related to heat and cold, air flow and air pressure. But whether it was the air flow or the air mass, they were all related to heat and cold. In the end, they were all reflected in heat and cold. Drastic changes in heat and cold, air mass changes, air pressure changes, wind. Whoosh. The surging of the vital energy and the collision of the power of water and fire instantly appeared above Chu Yang's hands. Miraculously, there was actually the sound of wind. It seemed that a gust of wind had just blown past him. However, a gust of wind shouldn't have light. There shouldn't be a super small tornado on Chu Yang's hands. It's amazing. This monkey has such a miraculous thing on his hands. Under the big meatball, the eyelids of his squinted eyes were suddenly torn open, revealing his eyes. His eyes were big and round like a glutinous rice ball because he was shocked. The browless man, the thief, and the rest of the crowd had the same reaction. Water, when hot, becomes qi. When qi becomes qi, it rises. When cold, it turns into fog and clouds. The sound of wind could be heard from time to time. This miraculous phenomenon did not disappear, but became more obvious and intense. The light on Chu Yang's hands became more dazzling, and a few white clouds floated out. It was as if the world on his hands was clear and blue, with only a few white clouds floating leisurely, moving with the wind. At this moment, everyone's mind was drawn into that small world. Whoosh! All of a sudden, a violent wind blew, and the sky darkened in an instant. Those few white clouds turned into thick thunderclouds in the blink of an eye. Black clouds pressed down on the city, threatening to destroy it. Rumble! From Chu Yang's hand also came the rumbling of thunder, just that the sound was many times softer than the sound of thunder in the world. In addition, in the thick thundercloud in his hand, there were already flashes of lightning and thunder, and silver snakes of lightning were dancing. The formation is so magical and cool. The eyebrowless man, the meatball, the thief, everyone suddenly had the urge to learn array formations. Rumble! The rumbling of thunder became even more intense. The thick thundercloud in Chu Yang's hand suddenly started to rain heavily. The sound of the rain made people feel as if it was raining heavily at this moment. There was even a gust of water vapor blowing in their faces, making them feel cool. The change was extremely violent and rapid. It was still a heavy summer rain, but in the blink of an eye winter had arrived. Snow fell like goose feathers. Chu Yang's hand was already snowy white, as if a world of snow had appeared in his hand. All the mystical transformations were still rapidly changing. Winter left and spring came. The snow melted into water and the world thawed. All living things woke up and were full of vitality. Summer arrived and autumn came. The sunlight burned the earth with fire, and then autumn came. The northern wind brought cold, and the fallen leaves rustled. Dark clouds, clear rain, spring, summer, autumn, winter, and all kinds of changes in the weather were all revealed. The changes were so fast that it was too much for the eyes to take in. Wow! The crowd suddenly let out cries of surprise. Chapter 283. Tian Madra. This little puppy actually bypassed the three basic madra, the metal, wood, water, fire, and earth madra, and directly formed the Tian Madra. Sloppy great-uncle, Long Feast's reaction was the most intense. He looked like he was having an epileptic seizure. White foam was coming out of his mouth, and he was about to lie down and convulse. How is this possible? How is this possible? This doesn't make sense. It completely goes against the rules and laws of formations since ancient times. What made Sloppy Great-Uncle even more incredulous was that Chu Yang's Tian Madra seemed to be even more shocking than his. His Tian Madra couldn't show so many scenes. However, he was soon stunned again. The Tian Madra was formed, and the Earth Madra was formed. Chu Yang had already started to form the Earth Madra. Earth is earth, this is the innate earth constitution. Earth, rising from the ground, is a mountain, falling is a ravine, a natural abyss. Water is rivers, lakes, and seas. Without water, it is a desert. Flat land is a plain. Rolling hills. Fertile land with sufficient rain, it is a tropical rainforest. Gradually, it becomes a forest, grassland, and eventually a desert. All kinds of scenes appeared on Chu Yang's hand again. They changed rapidly, and soon the Earth Madra was formed. During this period there was no sound, not even from Long Feast. He seemed to be dead. Human Madra, the friendship, hatred, unity, conflict, and strife between humans. In short, humans are social animals. Chu Yang muttered to himself, I'm actually the best human Madra. Ripples spread out from his body. This time, he didn't make any hand seals, but there was still a strange change. Light bloomed from his body, sometimes happy, sometimes angry, sometimes shocked, sometimes fearful, sometimes indifferent, sometimes scheming. All kinds of expressions appeared on his face. Humans had emotions, and desires. The changes in emotions caused the changes in Chu Yang's body to become more intense. Suddenly, billowing black gas came out of his body. It seemed to be uneasiness, anxiety, fear, and death. It also seemed to be the clarity of all negative emotions. They turned into black gas and appeared. In the blink of an eye, the black gas on his body disappeared. Following that, his entire body became transparent and emitted a holy light. At this moment, he seemed to have broken free from the calamity and obtained great relief. His body reached the other shore, stepped into the Pure Land, entered the paradise, and obtained great peace and freedom. Whoosh! A light seal flew out from Chu Yang's body. This was the human seal. The three seals of heaven, earth, and man intersected in front of Chu Yang. They were extremely dazzling, and an even bigger hole was torn open in the dark night. Chu Yang's enlightenment was not over yet. My heart is the heart of the heavens. My joy and anger are the gloomy rain. When I am happy, the sky is clear and cloudless. When I am angry, thunder rumbles, dark clouds cover the city, and heavy rain falls. The heavenly seal is the human seal, and the human seal is the heavenly seal. Merge. 1. The heaven seal and the human seal trembled. This seemed to be the vibration of the world, the frequency of the world, emitting a strange sound. Soon after, the two merged together easily. It was like water being poured into water. During this period, there were no obstructions. There were no violent collisions. It was as natural as it seemed. My heart is the earth. When I am steady, I am virtuous. When I am frivolous, I am turbulent. When the wind blows and the sand rises, the continent floats like white clouds. The earth seal is also the human seal. Merge. The earth seal also merged instantly. Just like before, when the conditions were right, success was achieved. In an instant, the three seals completely merged into one seal. It transformed into a transparent and illusory sphere, like a small world. If this is a small world, there should be all things in it. All things. Chu Yang's heart stirred. He thought of the universal millstone and the universal manifestation apparatus. As his enlightenment was poured in, the small world suddenly changed. It first became the universal millstone, then the universal manifestation apparatus. It shrunk to the extreme, like an extreme point, and only Chu Yang could sense its rotation. Haha, man is the measure of all things. This saying is indeed true. Even the heavens and the earth need to be measured by my heart. Chapter 284. Man is the measure of all things. Even the heavens and earth need to be measured by my heart. At this moment, Chu Yang was dazzling in everyone's eyes. He was incomparably dazzling. Everything they had seen before was simply like a dream. They were also completely affected by the aura released by Chu Yang when he was comprehending. The entire process was so slow that they were petrified, as if they were hit by the body freezing technique. Even at this moment, they heard Chu Yang's laughter. The body freezing technique was still not dispelled. It was as if they were still trapped in that bizarre dream, and they did not want to wake up from it for a long time. Man is the measure of all things. Even the heavens and earth need to be measured by my heart. My heart is the heaven's heart, and the heaven's heart is my heart. My heart is the earth. The same words, in different people's ears, had completely different reactions. Of course, the images were also completely different. On the other side, the sloppy king, Long Fij, was trembling. His lips were trembling and his eyes were bulging. He could not say a single word. Puppy actually formed the heaven seal. Puppy actually formed the earth seal. Puppy even formed the human seal. If that was all, it would be fine. However, Puppy actually managed to perfectly fuse the heaven, earth, and human seals together. Is this real? Was my eyes playing tricks on me? Or was I dreaming just now? Is there something wrong with my brain? Is there something wrong with my consciousness? Or is there something wrong with the entire world? Long Fij did not know how to describe Chu Yang, let alone evaluate him. At this moment, he had completely lost his ability to speak. His mind was blank, as if it was spasming and convulsing. Slap. The sloppy king, Long Fij, seemed to have lost his mind. Suddenly, he gave himself a big slap. His face was very hot and painful. There was also a clear handprint on his face. It's real. It's real, it's actually real. Boom. Long Fij jumped up and exploded the ground. Dust rose into the air as he screamed, "How did little dog do it? How did he do it?" Long Fij screamed, "How did he do it? How did he do it?" The heaven, earth, and man seals. Even I can't combine the three seals into one. He's just a layman in the art of formations, but he did it in less than a day. God, are you toying with me? At this moment, Long Fij suddenly had the urge to beat up the heavens. They were both born as humans, but this damned heavens was too biased and too much of a bully. The existence of this little dog made him feel extremely unjust, and he was extremely angry at this moment. Compared to Shao Quan, God treated him too poorly. It was as if they were both sons of the same mother, but one was raised like a treasure, while the other was drowned in the toilet bowl and killed. At this moment, Long Fij's mind was replaying every single detail of what had just happened. How did Chu Yang form the heaven, earth, and man seals? How did he fuse the three seals? Why was Puppy able to form the heaven, earth, and man seals? Why was it so easy to fuse Puppy's heaven, earth, and man seals? Suddenly, he seemed to be touched by something. His 10 fingers began to form seals. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The heaven, earth, and man seals flew out of his body. He followed Chu Yang's method of fusing the three seals and carefully tried to fuse the three seals together. There was no intense conflict between the seals like in the past. It was also unlike in the past, when the three seals were about to fuse, the seals would suddenly explode. Everything he was familiar with in the past did not happen. Instead, it was a situation he had never imagined. The moment the heaven and man seals came into contact, the two fused into one. It was like a long-lost father and son reuniting. Long Fij was stunned. Chapter 285. Son of a bitch, why is it so easy? Son of a bitch, how can it be so easy? Long Feast was so agitated that he cursed out loud. His curses were enough to pierce through the heavens. His reaction was understandable. He did not know how many times he had tried to fuse the three seals, but he did not know how many times he had failed. He had been stuck at this bottleneck for who knew how many years. He had even despaired, thinking that he would never be able to fuse the three seals into one in his lifetime. However, fate was too good at fooling people. He thought that he would never be able to do it, but now, he had done it so easily. Fusing the heaven, earth, and human seals was as easy as blowing off dust. I'm really seeing a ghost. I need to wake up. But Long Feast was still in disbelief. He suddenly slapped himself in the face. After a while, he looked at the fused heaven, earth, and human seals in front of him and laughed like a madman. Ah! He laughed until tears were about to fall. He had studied formations for half his life and finally fused the heaven, earth, and human seals. How could he not laugh? How could he not cry? This was a laugh of joy, but also a laugh of sadness. He had spent half his life to fuse the three seals, but Little Dog had done it in less than a day. What made him even angrier was that he had fused the three seals under Little Dog's guidance. Compared to Chu Yang, should he cry? He felt that he should cry himself to death, so that he would not have to live such a tiring and difficult life. Sloppy King, why did you cut off my connection with the heavenly eye? In his consciousness, a questioning voice suddenly rang out, causing Long Feast to jump and wake up immediately. He became even more anxious. No, I can't let these sharks know about this. Otherwise, they'll definitely snatch this puppy away from me. At the very least, they'll be badly injured. I'm afraid these sharks will use all kinds of dirty tricks. In just a short moment, a few more voices exploded in his consciousness. Some of them even cursed out loud. Long Feast, what the hell are you doing? Don't think that I don't know what you're thinking. Sloppy King, you're trying to hide something. That Little Dog must have done something shocking, right? Is there even a need to ask? Otherwise, how could this guy be like this? Hearing this, Long Fij suddenly felt happy. If these grandsons knew about this, they would be scared out of their wits. He smirked and thought to himself, Grandpa is doing this for your own good. I don't want you to be scared out of your wits. Not everyone is as strong as Grandpa. At the same time, Long Fij immediately retorted, You bastards, you're all narrow-minded people. Little Snow attacked the formation in the morning, and it's not stable. I was just fixing it. Call me and I'll fix it for you. You speak as if it's true. This sloppy Great King's skin is growing thicker and thicker. However, his ability to lie is truly lacking. His lies are just like everyone else's, sloppy and unbearable. None of them believed Long Feast's nonsense. In an instant, the 9 Peak Masters appeared beside Long Feast. However, they still had not recovered their connection with the heavenly eye. Long Feast, do you think that the entrance examination is a game? If we lose the surveillance and something happens in the Huanma secret territory, will you be responsible for it? Long Fij, you bastard. Have you eaten lard and lost your mind? Why do I have the urge to beat him up? It's been a long time since I fought with him. Looks like it's time again today. The sky was filled with accusations and threats. The Thousand-Sword Peak's Peak Master, Du Guanghua, even wanted to fight with Long Fei. As for Sui Yunfu of Divine Command Peak, he was even more annoyed. He was the chief examiner of this entrance examination. How dare Long Feast cut off his connection with the heavenly eye? What the hell was going on? Du Guangguang, try it. Long Feast threw a disdainful look at Du Guangbua's face. Then, he showed off the light seal of the heaven, earth, and man seals and said with a smile, "Let me show you what this is." "What is this?" Chapter 286. Sloppy King, it's just your shitty seal. Why are you showing it off? It's not like I haven't seen it before. Come, I haven't fought in a long time. Let me give you a good beating. Du Guangbu glanced at Long Feast and did not find anything. He was about to teach him a lesson. Tisk! Long Feast looked at Du Guangbu with even more disdain. Du Guangguang, what's wrong with your eyes? You should go and change those eyes of yours, or else you'll be a disgrace. Suddenly, Sui Yunfu's body shook and he exclaimed, "Heaven, earth, and human seals, this is the fusion of heaven, earth, and human seals. You broke through?" Sui Yunfu looked at Long Feast in shock. He knew how difficult it was to fuse the heaven, earth, and human seals. It was extremely dangerous. One careless mistake could cause serious injuries. What do you think? At this point, Long Feast's resentment towards the heavens had completely disappeared. He was very pleased with himself and smiled like a flower. He then rolled up his sleeves and provoked Du Guangbu. "Du Guangguang, didn't you want to fight? It just so happens that I made a breakthrough today, so I'll use you as a test subject." "Brother Long, let's talk nicely." Du Guangbu knew that Long Feast had broken through and was much stronger. He would not fight. "Talk nicely, my ass." The two seemed to have returned to their youth. At this moment, Sui Yunfu exclaimed again. Sui Yunfu was so shocked that he even called out Long Feast's nickname. "Insect, why are there flowers, birds, fish, insects, grass, trees, mountains, lakes, and even the sun, moon, and stars on your seal? Why are there so many scenes? Is that so?" Long Feast was also surprised. He looked up and was stunned. There was indeed. However, it was very illusory and blurry. His eyes widened as he thought to himself, "This little puppy is really scary. The fusion of the three seals is one thing, but there's still Tao inside. Damn it, when I catch this little puppy, I'll have to interrogate him properly." He had just made up his mind when Sui Yunfu suddenly pulled him up. "Bug, are you going to tell me or not?" Du Guangbu, Sui Yunfu, and Long Feast had a very good relationship. This could be seen from their words. Otherwise, if Sui Yunfu was not on good terms with Long Feast, there was no way he would have been able to capture someone as serious as him. "I don't know what to say." Long Feast rolled his eyes, but how could he say something so embarrassing? He said with disdain, "Piss off, this is called a genius, understand? Compared to trash like you, I'm a genius. This has to do with talent. I'm that good, what can I do?" Since he doesn't want to talk, I'll beat him until he does. Soon it was a mess. Du Guangbu and Sui Yunfu had a tacit understanding. The other 7 people also gave Long Feast a few blows from time to time. Long Feast was beaten up by 9 people, and was subdued on the ground in an instant. If the disciples of the 5 Elements sect were to see this scene, they would probably laugh their heads off. To think that the 10 peak masters would be so shameless. "Bug, can you talk now?" Du Guangbu smiled with squinted eyes. Long Feast had no choice but to surrender. He secretly transmitted a message to his 2 bad friends. "Fuck, I really don't know. I only got the hint from that puppy. What the hell do you want me to say? I'm confused myself right now." Sui Yunfu and Du Guangbu's bodies clearly trembled, revealing shocked expressions. The other 7 peak masters knew that these 3, who were so close that they could wear pants together, must have shared a secret. They immediately spoke up. "There's nothing that can't be told. You guys do the first, I'll do the 15th in the future. I want to do the 16th, 17th, and 18th. Don't say that I didn't tell you beforehand." Generally speaking, the 10 peak masters were fighting openly and secretly, but there were few internal conflicts. Their relationship was pretty good. After Long Fils heard about it, he even wanted to beat Du Guangbo and Sui Yunfu to death. It was fine if they were surprised, but why did they have to expose it? Did they know what he had just experienced? Bastard, you're going to reveal it to the world. Piss off, you're going to be the good guy again. Tell me everything. Chapter 287. Long Fils' fusion of the heaven, earth, and man seals was inspired by Shao Quan. The 7 of them were shocked and immediately said, Long Fils, restore your connection with the heaven's eye immediately. Otherwise, we'll beat you up with Du Guangguang. Whoever tries to steal Shao Quan from me is a bastard. Long Fils scolded as he restored the heaven's eye. Instantly, everything in the Western District fell into their eyes. At this moment, the Western District was in an uproar. It was a boiling cauldron of voices. Just what kind of understanding did this supreme grade gain in formations? It actually affected us so deeply, making us so absent-minded. Wind, clouds, thunder, lightning, flowers, birds, fish, insects, the sun, the moon, and the stars. All of these are visible. It can't be simple. Fortunately, this supreme grade is only amazing in formations. His cultivation is only average. When the 9 peak masters heard this, their eyes flickered. If the formation he comprehended could affect the people around him, then he must have touched the formation. Wind, clouds, thunder, lightning, flowers, birds, fishes, and insects all proved Long Fils' words. Therefore, when they looked at Chu Yang again, their eyes seemed to be shining. It would be strange if they didn't fight with Long Fils for it. The fusion of the heaven, earth, and man seals was already amazing, especially when Chu Yang knew nothing about formations. Yet, he managed to do it in such a short time. This was simply shocking. If news of this spread, they were sure that the entire eastern wilderness would be shaken. This was definitely the most experienced formation genius in history. Brag, brag, my pride and indulgence. Brag, my pure garden will not be destroyed. Chu Yang was humming a strange tune. What kind of bullshit pride and indulgence was this? The 10 peak masters knew that Shao Quan was showing off. Haha, I'm indeed a genius, a great genius. Chu Yang felt more and more satisfied with his heaven, earth, and man seals. The smile on his face was very despicable. Hee, after wasting so much fucking time, I've finally figured out this damn formation. This is simply my greatest humiliation. Chu Yang was filled with righteous indignation. It was obvious that he had wasted too much time, which made him feel extremely vexed. The 10 peak masters couldn't help but want to slap him to death. If he wasn't so smug, none of them would be able to accept it. Especially since they didn't know anything about array formations. It wasn't that they hadn't tried to learn it, but it was just too difficult. Sloppy eldest uncle is probably sleeping right now. Amen, my guess is definitely not wrong. It must be so. Chu Yang thought that he was smart. He kept muttering, in that case, this old geezer definitely won't know when I change the array formation. That won't do either. If the old guy finds out, he'll be so angry that he'll destroy all my modifications. Wouldn't all my hard work go to waste? Motherfucker, I have to make sure that old bastard can't change. After pondering for a moment, Chu Yang smiled and immediately made a small change to the array. In just a short while, the Western Region's Rankings Board, Hidden Dragon Ranking Board, and Record Ranking Board shone brightly, and 4 dazzling words appeared on them. I am a genius. I am a genius. Chu Yang raised his head and looked. After pondering for a moment, he felt that he was missing something. He muttered, being a genius is inevitable. Who doesn't know that? I don't need to advertise any more. Got it. He snapped his fingers. Then, the 3 rankings shone brightly again. I am the most handsome. Haha, I am the most handsome. This is indeed the most suitable. I've finally told the whole world the truth. From now on, who doesn't know that I am the most handsome person in the world? This person was extremely narcissistic. The 10 Peak Masters thought that he could come up with some earth-shattering nickname, but in the end, he was even worse than I am a genius. Chapter 288. I'm a genius. I'm the most handsome. What a narcissistic, shameless, resounding and dazzling name, blinding everyone's eyes. The West Region examinees all looked at Chu Yang strangely, feeling that this guy was obviously going to be the best. They were all speechless. However, one had to admit that this top grade was indeed one of a kind. Not to mention anything else, just the fact that he was at the bottom of the rankings in this assessment would definitely be deeply remembered by everyone. Damn, this thing is really going to be done by this hairy face monkey. It's really exciting. The thief was very envious. Damn, he's just here to show off. I'm definitely going to express my disdain for him. The one without eyebrows was also extremely unhappy. He had worked so hard for a day, but it was not as good as this guy showing off. He didn't even sweat, and his name resounded throughout the entire place. The big meatball was also envious. I think he will definitely be struck by lightning in the future. The heavens must be extremely angry with him now. Big meatball, who are you calling the best? Why don't you look at yourself first? You've already grown into a ball, this is the best. You don't have the qualifications to criticize me. Chu Yang singled out the big meatball, which made the big meatball very gloomy. I want to get fat. You little thing, try it. If drinking water can make you gain weight, you will definitely be fatter than me. Besides, is it a crime for me to be fat? Bastard, you're actually discriminating against fatties. Also, big meatball, the one without eyebrows and that thief. Chu Yang singled out all three of them. Don't think that you can speak casually just because you're not familiar with me. I have a name, I'm the most handsome, not best or weirdo. If you speak nonsense again, I'll knock your teeth out. I have a name too, I'll never change my name, I'm Fu Meat Mountain. Brother, do you dare to reveal your real name? Grandpa has a name too, I'll never change my name, I'm Qiao Yuan Liang. Brother, do you dare to reveal your real name? I have a name too, I'll never change my name, I'm Yi Gao Guo. Brother, do you dare to reveal your real name? This was obvious jealousy. Chu Yang understood. You three pieces of trash. You want to change your names and surnames. Do you have the ability? If you don't jump around. Be careful, I'll teach you a lesson. Naturally, there were people who couldn't take it anymore, mocking and ridiculing him. What's there to be cocky about? It's just a fart. His name will be changed back immediately. Isn't that so? I wonder what he is so proud of. How can the Five Elements sect tolerate such a fool who thinks he is so smart? He's not just trying to be smart. He shows off just because he has some ability. This kind of person will definitely die the most miserable death. If he participates in the test tomorrow, I guarantee that he will die miserably. On the other hand, the 10 Peak Masters were also discussing this matter. The other 9 Peak Masters were already looking at the Sloppy King, Long Feast. Sloppy King, can you change it back? Don't let that puppy make fun of you. If we can't even suppress it now, this little dog will probably ascend to heaven in the future. Long Feast looked constipated. It was easy to change it, but also troublesome. As long as he admitted that he was a pig and his family was nothing, he could easily change the array. But if he didn't admit it, it would be very troublesome. The little dog's hands and feet were very sinister. If he forcefully changed it, it would cause damage and shake the entire array. I can't change it, but you guys definitely can. Chapter 289. The 9 Peak Masters' faces darkened. Admitting that he was a pig was too lenient. If they admitted it, they would become a joke. We can't let this dog go. He passed the array test and successfully modified it. I suggest we give him 10,000 points. No, 10,000 points. Give him 100,000. 100,000 isn't enough. Give him 1,000,000 points. 1,000,000 points. The 10 of them glanced at each other. This was a bit too much. In the past, the highest number of points one could obtain in the Huanma secret territory was 100,000 points. Even in the later stages of the competition, winning the championship would only give them 300,000 points. 1,000,000 points was too much. We have the final say in the point. Give it to him. Long Fij said, "This dog is despicable. We have to teach him a lesson. Let's add fuel to the fire." In the Huanma secret territory, the East, South, and North districts show the dog. Tell the 4 districts that he can get 1,000,000 points. Agreed. Let's do it. As long as this dog doesn't die, we have to teach him a lesson. Chu Yang angered the 10 peak masters. Immediately, Long Fij controlled the array. In an instant, all the lists in the Huanma secret territory lit up in the night. If 3 moons had risen in the western region after Chu Yang's changes, then 15 suns would have risen in the entire Huanma secret territory. Especially the overall list, it was even brighter. In an instant, the entire Huanma secret territory was lit up. It was as if daytime had arrived. First place, I'm the most handsome, 1,000,000 points. First place, I'm the most handsome, 1,000,000 potential points. First place, I'm the most handsome, 1,000,000 points. First place on the Hidden Dragon ranking, 1,000,000 potential points. On the record list, I'm the most handsome's records were best in the past, 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 and best in the history of arrays. 1,000,000 points, this dazzling number, the entire Huanma mystery land suddenly fell silent. Not to mention the points and potential rankings, just the record rankings. I'm the most handsome had created 6 records in one go. Not only was it shocking, but it was also very sneaky. Best in the past, shameless in the past. Boom. After a brief moment of silence, the Huanma secret territory erupted into an uproar. Who is this I'm the most handsome? How come I've never heard of this person before? With the surname, and I am the most handsome, it's obviously not his real name. Heavens, 1,000,000 points, 1,000,000 potential points, 1,000,000 points, 1,000,000 potential points, 1,000,000 points, 1,000,000 potential points. How did he get it? Did he cheat? Record. He actually set 6 records at once. Is he trying to defy the heavens? When it came to records, almost everyone was rendered speechless. Just by looking at the records, there was a huge amount of information about top quality, weirdo, and shameless. The reaction from the West District was the most intense. Fucking bastard, fuck you. The big meatball, the one without eyebrows, the thief, and many others couldn't take it anymore. They were all so provoked that they cursed out everything they could. Especially those who were jealous of Chu Yang and mocked Chu Yang. At this moment, seeing such a scene, they felt as if they were being burned at the stake. Is there any justice in this? 1,000,000 points, a whole 1,000,000 points. What did this top-grade item do? Wasn't it just showing off the top-grade item and fiddling with the array formation? How could it obtain so many points and so much potential value? These bastards, are they trying to kill me? 1,000,000 points. Chu Yang was instantly dumbfounded. Wouldn't he become the public enemy of the whole nation? Wouldn't he have to walk through a mountain of swords and a sea of fire? Then he was stunned again. A line of big words appeared above the Huanma secret territory. Robbing is encouraged. Swish. Immediately, countless pairs of eyes from the western district stared at Chu Yang. They were like the eyes of hungry wolves in the night, glowing with a green light. Chapter 290. Encourage robbing me, the most handsome. There was more at the back, as long as you don't kill me, the most handsome. Chu Yang narrowed his eyes. What is the meaning of the 5 elements sex playthings? Are they toying with me? At this moment, the formation was forcibly shut down. The West region's rankings, Hidden dragon rankings and record rankings completely disappeared in midair. Only a single Heaven's Eye remained, waiting to see him get beaten up by a group of people. There was no need to think. The Heaven's Eye's array must have been tampered with. Chu Yang definitely wouldn't be able to merge with the array in a short period of time. Extreme. Extreme. My lord, this young master is actually so loved by all of you. Chu Yang was cursing in his heart. This mountain goat, this sloppy king, these playthings were all trash. They were too damaging. Anyway, he had already recorded this in his little notebook. He would have to return it sooner or later. Those who are not disciples of the fierce dragon martial Anastia Tushin get lost. Those who are not disciples of the earth snake martial Anastia Tushin get lost. Those who are not disciples of the true martial Insti Tushin get lost. In an instant, Chu Yang had become Tang Sanzang's meat. He looked very easy to bully and very delicious. The Western region's 3 elite martial Insti Tushins, the fierce dragon martial Insti Tushin, the earth snake non-martial Insti Tushin, and the true martial Insti Tushin, had already started to clear the area. One could only hear muffled sounds, muffled groans, and continuous blood-curdling screams. Many people were sent flying in an instant. Soon, only 3 groups of people were left in the field. They were clearly divided and surrounded Chu Yang. The fierce dragon martial Insti Tushin, the earth snake martial Insti Tushin, and the true martial Insti Tushin were the 3 giants of the western region. They had at least 300 disciples participating in the entrance exam. The 3 martial Insti Tushins had close to 1,000 people. No one was a match for them. Those who were dissatisfied were all ruthlessly crushed. Arrogant, unreasonable, and tyrannical. 1,000,000 points, split into 3 portions. The first portion will be 400,000 points, and the remaining will be 300,000 points. How about it? The leader of the fierce dragon martial Insti Tushin suggested. This was a red-haired youth with a cultivation of the 4th level of the Chi Soul realm. He had a massive body like a moving iron tower. He was courageous and powerful, and his muscles were like hidden dragons. He was the fierce dragon martial Insti Tushin's Chu Feishing. Sure, but who goes first? These 400,000 points were practically picked up from the ground. Why don't the 3 of us have a match to decide who these 400,000 points belong to? The leader of the Earth Snake Martial Institution, Lung Haomiao, was also at the 4th level of the Chi Soul realm, 4 symbols origin. His body was thin and weak, and his eyes were sunken. However, it wasn't because of excessive alcohol consumption. His eyes were originally sunken, and they were overflowing with radiance, making his gaze extremely sharp. Chu Yang was already a fish on the chopping board, or a pig waiting to be slaughtered. Now they were fighting over who wanted his bones and who wanted his meat. Interesting? Chu Yang looked on coldly. He was only at the 4th level of the Chi Soul realm, 4 divisions, and yet he dared to be so arrogant. The 3 of us are all at the 4th level of the Chi Soul stage, 4 divisions. When will the victor be decided? If there is any delay, the eastern, southern, and northern regions will all rush over. Let alone 400,000 points, I'm afraid we won't even be able to get half a point. The one who spoke was naturally the leader of the true martial institution, Ma Kongsheng. He had a face full of pockmarks, and he said, "This peak-grade item can be said to be a blessing from the heavens to our 3 major martial institutions. Therefore, we should be competing with luck. I suggest we draw lots, and whoever catches it will get it." From the beginning to the end, whether it was Chu Feishing, Lung Haomiao, or Ma Kongsheng, none of them looked at Chu Yang directly. The disciples of the 3 major martial institutions were even more excited. This was the advantage of the 3 major martial institutions. No one could defeat them, and no one dared to have an opinion. The other martial institutions, as well as the outsiders participating in the Five Elements sex assessment, were angry, unwilling, and felt that it was unfair. They all felt that they had missed a great opportunity, and even regretted that they had missed such a good opportunity. They really wanted to fight it out with the three major martial institutions, but they weren't a match for them. Chapter 291. That makes sense. Sure. Chu Feixing and Leng Haomiao immediately agreed. They were afraid that the other three districts would come and snatch it, and this was indeed a good solution. The three of them immediately drew lots, and in the end, the Earth Snake Martial Insti Tushan's Leng Haomiao won. Haha, Chu Feixing, Ma Kongxing, you admit it. Leng Haomiao was overjoyed and laughed heartily. Humph. Chu Feixing and Ma Kongxing were extremely unhappy and couldn't help but snort. Leng Haomiao, don't waste too much time. If you can't get this supreme grade item within 15 minutes, it means that you are not capable enough. These 400,000 points will no longer belong to you. That's right, Leng Haomiao. You can object. 15 minutes? Humph. Leng Haomiao sneered. Do I need 15 minutes to deal with a trash like this? If I can't do it within a breath's time, you don't have to say anything. I will voluntarily give up these 400,000 points. Supreme grade. Leng Haomiao had already turned around and looked at Chu Yang with disdain. Are you going to hand over the points yourself, or do I have to take them myself? Leng Haomiao looked down at Chu Yang with disdain. He didn't even take Chu Yang seriously. Chu Yang, who hadn't spoken since the beginning, finally spoke. Skin and bones, I despise you. I can tell that you are a pauper with one look. He was as frivolous and arrogant as usual, which shocked everyone. Many people didn't understand what he meant, but if the coiling dragon Martial Insti Tushan's disciples were here, they would instantly understand. Also, that blockhead, his face is full of pockmarks. Chu Yang pointed at the two of them and said, You guys look like paupers too. This is making me feel bad. Can't you guys be a little more nouveau riche? Almost everyone was speechless. This supreme grade dared to be so arrogant at this moment. Could it be that he couldn't see the situation clearly? Or was he deceiving himself and drugging himself? Many people couldn't help but sneak a peek at Chu Yang, judging his cultivation level. Their judgment was almost unanimous. He should be at the first tier of the Chi Soul stage, or at most the second tier. It was impossible for him to be higher than that. Su Pin was indeed talented in the art of formations, and his cultivation was not bad. However, when faced with Chu Feixing, Leng Haomiao, and Ma Kongxing, who were at the fourth level of the Chi Soul realm, his cultivation was still too weak. He would not be able to withstand a single blow. He's dead for sure. He actually dared to call senior brother Ma pockmarked. It's a pity that senior martial brother Ma didn't get the first lot. Also, it's impossible to kill him. It wasn't only the true martial arts institution who thought so. If the Five Elements sect hadn't made a special request, they would have thought that Chu Yang was already a dead man. Chu Feixing was an idiot. Leng Haomiao was all skin and bones. Ma Kongxing's face was full of pockmarks. Who would dare to be so disrespectful to the three great martial institutions and look down on them in such a manner? This was simply courting death. Big meatball, no eyebrows, and a thick thief. They realized that Su Pin seemed to have been merciful when he gave them nicknames. Su Pin's mouth was poisonous, but it was useless no matter how poisonous his mouth was. His fist was the truth. Therefore, they couldn't understand why Chu Yang dared to be so unyielding and even arrogant. However, what made them even more dumbfounded was, ka ka ka. Chu Yang clenched his fists, which made cracking sounds. He pointed his finger at Leng Haomiao and ordered, Come here. Kneel down and bark like a dog. Treat it as tuition. I'll teach you how to be a man later. Everyone in the field was stunned into silence. They were all stunned. Arrogant. Who was more arrogant than who? Su Pin was even more arrogant than the three great martial institutions. He was even more overbearing and rude. And the other two? Go and line up immediately. Chu Yang pointed at Chu Feisheng and Ma Kongsheng. Later, I'll teach you poor bastards how to be a man one by one. Although I don't want to because you're all poor bastards, I have no choice. I have a bad habit which is to teach others. Where did your confidence come from? Could it be that you're relying on the best quality items? Chapter 292. Boom. Chu Yang's words were extremely arrogant. It was as if he had knocked down a mountain. The rocks started to roll down with a rumbling sound. Everyone was in an uproar. What right does this guy have to be so arrogant? Where does his confidence come from? He can't be thinking of defeating Ling Haomiao and the rest of the three martial institutions with a supreme weapon, right? Anyway, I'm convinced by him. What an idiot. He still doesn't know what he's doing. Everyone could already imagine how Chu Yang would feel later. Although the higher-ups of the Five Elements sect had told them not to kill anyone, sometimes it would be better to die. Ling Haomiao was pointed at and ordered by Chu Yang, and he couldn't help but be angry. It seems that you won't give up until you see the coffin. Boom! Ling Haomiao attacked directly. He looked thin, like a bag of bones, but he seemed to be very heavy. When he moved, he was like a mountain and the ground rumbled. Swish! His speed was extremely fast. After his figure completely disappeared from the spot, the ground under his feet, which had been crushed by his tremendous strength, only then did the dust rise into the sky. He was fast, but Chu Yang was faster. Whoosh! Suddenly, the sound of wind rushed into everyone's ears. It seemed that Chu Yang had rolled up a hurricane, and his speed was so fast that only his afterimage could be seen. Boom! In an instant, the two of them attacked each other. Like two giant beasts, they violently collided with each other, and a dazzling light burst out. Immediately, the ground under their feet exploded, and countless dust rose into the sky, completely drowning the two of them. Bang, 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 the two of them couldn't be seen, and only loud noises could be heard. It seemed that the two of them were fighting fiercely at this moment. Dust rose into the sky, and the ground under their feet was shaking non-stop. However, it was a little strange. The sound didn't seem to be the sound of fists and feet colliding. Immediately after, someone's body suddenly trembled, and even completely froze. Through the thin smoke that filled the air, he could faintly see a person lifting another person up, and using him as a sledgehammer, repeatedly smashing him on the ground. The constant shaking of the ground was caused by this. This was also the reason why the dust kept rising. Someone had already been defeated. This was very clear, and there was nothing to say. However, the person who was smashed didn't seem to be that exceptional individual. Instead, it seemed to be the earth snake martial insti Tushan's Ling Haomiao. Ling Haomiao's lean and bony figure was very easy to recognize. How is this possible? My eyes must be playing tricks on me. He did not make a sound, because he even suspected that he had seen wrongly. And at this moment, with a whoosh from the dust that filled the sky, a person dragged a dead dog and quickly rushed to the front of the nearest mountain. At this moment, not only did this person see it clearly, but everyone else also saw it clearly. The person dragging a dead dog in his hand was none other than top grade. The dead dog that was being dragged was actually the Earth Snake Martial Institution's Ling Haomiao. In the blink of an eye, Ling Haomiao was beaten into a dead dog. How was this possible? At this moment, everyone was completely dumbfounded. Then, something that made them even more dumbfounded happened. Chu Yang picked up Ling Haomiao and smashed him into the mountain. Boom, boom, boom. There was a series of loud sounds. Every loud sound was so shocking that it shook one's mind. The moment every loud sound echoed, not only did everyone's eyelids suddenly twitch, but their heartbeats also seemed to stop abruptly. shuddering even though it wasn't cold. When everyone saw this scene, they felt as though they were being used as a sledgehammer and smashed into the mountain. Their bones and tendons were all broken, and they were in extreme pain. This scene was too brutal. That top grade was simply too brutal. Skin and bones. Are you too hard, or is this mountain too soft? Another deep pit was smashed out. I am not fucking digging a pit. It sounded funny, but no one at the scene could laugh. There were even some people who had yet to regain their senses. They did not even know what had happened. It was very simple. Chu Yang was a physique cultivator, and so was Ling Hao Miao. Ling Hao Miao had the strength of 1 dragon and 5 elephants. He wanted to use his strength to crush Chu Yang, but he found the wrong person and was directly crushed by Chu Yang. Then, Chu Yang used him as a hammer to smash the ground. It was that simple. One careless move and the whole game was lost. If he had not underestimated Chu Yang so much, he might not have lost so quickly and so miserably. Damn it, I forgot that you didn't bark like a dog just now. I didn't even pay for teaching you. After teaching you for so long, I feel that I am an extremely great teacher. I actually spared no effort to educate you like this. Whoosh! Chu Yang dragged Ling Hao Miao back and threw him. When everyone looked over, Ling Hao Miao's body was like mud and he was bleeding from his 7 orifices. However, he did not faint. Indeed, he was extremely strong. After being smashed like that, he did not die and was even conscious. One could imagine how strong he was. Chapter 293. Chu Yang's cold eyes were like lightning as he sneered at Chu Feisheng and Ma Kongsheng. In an instant, Ma Kongsheng and Chu Feisheng subconsciously moved closer to each other. They were afraid that Chu Yang would defeat them one by one and end up like Ling Hao Miao. Whether it was Chu Feisheng or Ma Kongsheng, they felt an immense pressure and even fear. This time, it wasn't as simple as meeting an iron plate. They had barged into a tiger's den, and were still clamoring for no reason. Fuck you! The big meatball was dumbfounded. Countless vulgarities were raging in his heart. He simply couldn't believe it. The eyebrowless guy was completely petrified. This supreme grade was actually so strong, and so ridiculously strong. Ling Hao Miao of the Earth Snake Martial Institution was instantly killed by him. The thief's entire body was trembling. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. This guy was simply too cruel and savage. Not only them, but many people's legs and stomachs were trembling. Who didn't know what was going on? Who said that this guy was a supreme grade and that he was retarded? This supreme grade was obviously very vengeful. Anyone with eyes would know, and Ling Hao Miao was the best example. The scene was silent because no one dared to make a sound. Chu Yang was like a ferocious tiger as he stared at Chu Feisheng and Ma Kongsheng. The two of you can pay the tuition fees first. I will teach you how to behave later. Chu Yang smiled, revealing his white teeth. Everyone was shocked and took a step back. His white teeth were like the sharp fangs of a devil. Chu Feisheng and Ma Kongsheng's nerves were completely stretched. They couldn't see through Chu Yang's strength. The exchange between Chu Yang and Ling Hao Miao was too short, so they couldn't see anything. However, the two of them were sure of one thing: to be able to instantly kill Ling Hao Miao. This supreme grade strength was absolutely astonishing. Although it could not be ruled out that Ling Hao Miao had misjudged Chu Yang's strength, and Chu Yang seized the opportunity to defeat him in one blow, even so, the strength of this superb level was definitely not to be underestimated. This was also where Chu Yang's advantage lay. The other party did not know his specific strength, but Chu Yang could see through them clearly. What's wrong? You're not even willing to pay the school fees? Then I'll teach you guys why you have to pay the school fees. Whoosh! Chu Yang had used his somersault cloud. At this moment, everyone felt as though Chu Yang had disappeared into thin air. Suddenly, they completely lost sight of Chu Yang. When they tried to search for him, they couldn't find him. By the time they heard Chu Feishing and Ma Kongxing's exclamations and looked over, they found that Chu Yang had already appeared between Chu Feishing and Ma Kongxing. They were all overwhelmed with shock. How did he get there? How did he do it? The distance was not long, but the speed was so fast and unpredictable that it was extremely shocking. That's impossible. That should be impossible. This is too bizarre. What did he do just now? How could he do this? Could it be that he just passed by invisibly? Such a movement technique is simply shocking. Everyone was shocked, and their hearts were in turmoil. Chu Yang's move had almost broken their hearts. If Chu Yang had gotten so close to them, wouldn't they have instantly become Ling Haomiao? It was completely impossible to defend against. Everyone now somewhat understood why Ling Haomiao was so miserable. It was not that he was not strong, but that his enemy was too strong. Ling Haomiao did not provoke a tiger or a dragon, but seemed to be the celestial emperor above the 9 heavens, the gods of the gods' realm. Chapter 294. Chu Yang's speed was really too fast. He filled the natural moat between the heaven and earth bridges, and under his feet became the road to heaven. He stepped on the void and crossed the natural moat as if he was stepping on flat ground. He could cross the natural moat, and in the future, he could cross the sea of bitterness and reach the shore of the other side. This was the embryonic form of his great supernatural power. How could his speed not be fast? Chu Yang used this trump card to quickly get rid of these two people. Ma Kongxing and Chu Feishing deeply felt Chu Yang's terror at this moment. He can actually be so fast here. It's like teleportation. Whether it was Ma Kongxing, Chu Feishing, or Chu Yang, they all tensed up and guarded tightly. However, Chu Yang's terrifying speed still caught them off guard. It was as if the two of them had always been under Chu Yang's devil's claws, and had never been able to break free. By the time they reacted, Chu Yang's hands had already grabbed their heads. Just as the two of them were about to launch a fierce attack and risk everything to perish together with Chu Yang, they suddenly found their bodies twisting uncontrollably. Then, Chu Feishing saw Ma Kongxing's pockmarked face, and Ma Kongxing also saw Chu Feishing's rough face. Clang! Chu Yang grabbed the two people's heads and slammed their faces together. In an instant, whether it was Chu Feishing or Ma Kongxing, at this moment they saw stars. Not only did the stars come out, but the moon and the sun also came out. Their brains were suddenly shaken by such a huge shock. They jumped fiercely, as if they wanted to rush out from the top of their heads and go straight to the 9th heaven. How could the two of them still use their fierce attacks? Now they wanted to perish together with Chu Yang, but they could not. Bang 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 bang! Chu Yang grabbed the two people's heads, as if he was holding a pair of copper cymbals and madly hitting them, playing a scalp-numbing and terrifying music. The melody was the sound of flesh and bones. Ka ka ka! Many people's teeth were already chattering. It was too cruel, too brutal, too bloody. Chu Feishing and Ma Kongxing's faces were lacerated, blood and flesh splattered everywhere. People could even clearly see the bones on their faces. Such a scene shocked many people. Chu Feishing was too pitiful. Ma Kongxing was too pitiful. It was too miserable. The two of them were even more miserable than Ling Haomiao. However, even though Chu Yang was so brutal, no one dared to make a sound. That was because just now, whether it was Ling Haomiao, Chu Feishing, or Ma Kongxing, all three of them were too arrogant and unreasonable. The three major martial institutions were also extremely unreasonable and overbearing. Not only did they clear the area, but they also beat people up. Now, who would speak up for them? Those who had been injured by the three great martial institutions were now in an even better mood. The resentment in their hearts had been greatly vented. Especially when people recalled the words of Ma Kongxing and the other two, they no longer felt that they were so pitiful. This person was the heaven's favor for their three great martial institutions. Was it the heaven's favor? If it was the heaven's favor, then it was the heavens' favor for them and the three great martial institutions' favor. As for those who were regretful that they didn't get a share of the 1,000,000 points, they were now rejoicing. They were thankful that the three great martial institutions had cleared them out. Otherwise, they would have had a share in the current situation. Bang! Chu Yang threw the two of them away. Then, he stomped on their chests as if he was stepping on two boats. Their internal organs were also seriously injured. Even if the two of them had a good brain, they probably wouldn't be able to fight back. What, seeing the two badly mutilated faces, the crowd couldn't help but be scared out of their wits. Chu Feixing and Ma Kongxing's faces didn't have any intact skin. The flesh on their faces was almost gone. At first glance, the bones of their faces were already exposed. Miserable, 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 miserable. It was definitely not something that could be described with just the word tragic. Why are you still standing there like idiots? Hurry up and kill this bastard. Leng Haomiao's voice. He had finally recovered and was actually able to roar. At this moment, none of the disciples of the three great martial institutions moved. This simply angered Leng Haomiao to death. Do you think that this devil won't make a move on you after taking care of us? If you don't make a move now, you will die later. He is definitely not a match for so many of you. Do it, hurry up and do it. Chapter 295. Yes, he is only one person. No matter how strong he is, how can he be a match for so many people from the three major martial institutions? We have 1,000 people from the three major martial institutions. How can we not be a match for him? Many ants can bite an elephant to death. He is only one person. Why should we fear him? In the three major martial institutions, apart from the leaders like Leng Haomiao, Chu Feixing, and Ma Kongxing, there were many other core forces and powerful individuals. When they stood out, they instantly stabilized the situation and boosted the morale of the three major martial institutions' disciples. The Ferocious Dragon Martial Institution, the Earth Snake Martial Institution, and the True Martial Institution could be said to be united against a common enemy. Their aura instantly shook the sky. Yes, he is only one person. Why should we be afraid of him? Kill him and take revenge for Senior Brother Leng and the others. More people clamored, and the aura of the three major martial institutions' disciples became even more aggressive. Stubborn, Chu Yang squinted his eyes. Why did he quickly defeat Chu Feixing and Ma Kongxing? How could he allow the three major martial institutions' disciples to have their way? Two damn dogs! How dare you speak and act so recklessly? Chu Yang treated Ma Kongxing and Chu Feixing like two sledgehammers and swung them around. He charged into the crowd and smashed anyone he saw. When there were too many people, he directly swung the two of them. Sometimes they were like two spinning windmills. Sometimes they were like a rapidly spinning millstone. Sometimes they were like a cutting machine. When they were hit, they were sent flying. When they were hit, they were injured. Some were even thrown into the sky. All of a sudden, the disciples of the three major martial institutions were like a school of fish that rushed out of the water. Many of them screamed and soared into the sky. Damn it! The fourth-level Chi Soul Realm experts of the three major martial institutions gritted their teeth and were filled with hatred. Chu Yang used Chu Feixing and Ma Kongxing as his weapons, binding their hands and feet. They couldn't even use their full strength. The scene in front of them frightened them. Chu Yang was simply too brutal and too powerful. He was like a tiger that had entered a flock of sheep. Wherever Chu Yang went, that area would be swept away in an instant, and in just an instant, hundreds of people were swept away by him. He was slightly worried that if the two big hammers were killed, he would be pursued by the five-element sect. He quickly tossed Ma Kongxing and Chu Feixing aside and grabbed those fourth-level Chi Soul Realm martial artists from the three major martial institutions to replace Chu Feixing and Ma Kongxing. Just like this, Chu Yang continued to sweep and repeat. It didn't take long before almost all of the three great martial institutions had fallen and were lying in a pile. Run. He's a demon. We are no match for him. No matter what, it's impossible for him to be a match for him. It would be a waste to go up there. The voice of the person who spoke was trembling as they were completely frightened. When the three major martial institutions were left with 300 to 400 people, the disciples of the three major martial institutions finally collapsed and fled in all directions. Run? Where do you think you're going? Chu Yang chased after them. He did not want to let go of any of the main forces that had resisted him, who were all at the third or fourth stage of the Chi Soul realm from the three great martial institutions. Very quickly, the scene turned into a wolf chasing after a flock of sheep. There were continuous screams as people were swung up like hammers and smashed into others. The louder the screams, the more miserable they were. The more they jumped, the more miserable they were. The more they jumped, the more miserable they were. Like a whirlwind, most of the 300 to 400 people managed to escape. However, Chu Yang's objective was achieved. Those who escaped were all small fries. Those who were relatively stronger, especially those who were supporting the three major martial institutions, were all pressed to the ground by him. When they came into contact with the ground, they were fiercely rubbed against each other. Are you satisfied now? Leng Haomiao was the first, but he was also the last. He was the one who spoke and caused the explosion. Chu Yang wouldn't let him go so easily. There was nothing else to say. Chu Yang grabbed Leng Haomiao's head and slammed it against the ground. It seemed to be more comprehensive and more miserable than when Chu Feixing and Ma Kongxing collided with each other face to face. As for Chu Feixing and Ma Kongxing, they were used as weapons. Naturally, the outcome wasn't any better. The two of them were almost out of breath. At this point, the ferocious dragon martial institution, the earth snake martial institution, and the true martial institution were all annihilated. This is bad. Chapter 296. It was just broken, it was broken long ago. The fierce dragon martial institution, the earth snake martial institution, and the true martial institution, the three martial institutions had been swept clean, and many of them were severely injured. The Western region's assessment could be said to have completely collapsed. Sui Yunfu's words were simply nonsense. As for Chu Yang's brutality just now, the 9 peak masters were also dumbfounded. They had never expected Chu Yang's strength to be so shocking. Not only was his talent in the art of formations peerless, but his martial arts were also the same. Just thinking about it made them feel relieved. This little dog's comprehension ability was so astonishing, and it was as easy as walking on flat ground in array formation. Wouldn't he be even more proficient in martial Tao? Therefore, not only were they shocked, but their hearts were burning with passion. If this little dog became their disciple, they would be able to look down on all the peak. I'm afraid it won't be as simple as the western region falling into his hands. I'm afraid the eastern, southern, and northern regions will all fall into this little dog's hands. Sui Yunfu said worriedly and pointed his finger at the heavenly eye. At this moment, after Chu Yang skillfully swept clean Leng Haomiao, Chu Feixing, and Ma Kongxing, he was also sweeping the disciples of the 3 martial institutions one by one. Even if a mosquito's meat was meat, it was still meat. With this little dog's character, do you think he will continue? The other 9 peak masters were dumbfounded. There was no doubt about it. With the addition of the 1,000,000 points, the martial institutions in the eastern, southern, and northern regions would be like moths to a flame. They could already foresee the consequences. If everyone was defeated by this little dog, what was the point of the assessment? Their judgment wasn't wrong at all. Through the heavenly eye, they could clearly hear Chu Yang giving an order to the surrounding people. Quickly go and dig a few big holes and bury all the awesome people of the 3 martial insti Tushens. Try to clean up the battlefield as soon as possible. Bury. All the people of the 3 martial insti Tushens were buried. The people from the Western District were all shocked. Was he going to kill them all? That heaven-defying array genius seemed to have said something about not killing anyone. Was it that point? The big meatball was almost stuttering. This grandson was too savage, and his savagery was beyond the horizon. That's right, the almighty array formation genius. You'd better take it easy. The most handsome man in history. Digging a hole is no problem, but shouldn't we think about burying him again? The man without eyebrows and the thief said cautiously. At this moment, only the 3 of them dared to speak. After all, nearly 1,000 people were buried. It was too much of a sin. Chu Yang narrowed his eyes. We didn't kill them. We just buried them. What does their deaths have to do with me? The 3 great martial academies are extremely powerful. How could they be buried alive? If they are dead, then it can only mean one thing. They are too powerful, so powerful that they don't want to live anymore. Your grandpa's reason is so powerful. The 3 major martial institutions were truly courting death. Why did you have to be so boastful? This was especially true for Leng Haomiao, Chu Feixing, and Ma Kongsheng. Of all things, they had to draw lots in front of this grandson to decide who would deal with him. At this moment, the disciples of the 3 martial institutions couldn't help but be terrified. Leng Haomiao and the other 2 only had half a breath left. When they heard Chu Yang's words, they almost died. Why are you still in a daze? Hurry up and do it. Chu Yang's eyes straightened. Do you want me to rob you first and then bury you first as a demonstration? Everyone was shocked. This thing was really capable of doing such a thing. Soon, someone immediately went to dig a hole. Then, the construction started in full swing. Chapter 297. Chu Yang sat on top of a small mountain and continued casually. It's just digging a hole. Don't think that you've suffered a big loss. I'll sweep through the 3 awesome martial academies, and the rest of you dregs will be left. You guys can be kings in a mountain without tigers. These words made sense, and the eyes of the people digging the hole couldn't help but light up. Also, you guys have to do well. The 3 districts in the east, south, and north came in a hubbub and didn't find anything fishy. I'll rob them and you guys will bury them. Chu Yang laughed sinisterly. Think about it. Not only in the West District, but in the entire Huanma secret realm, you monkeys can try to be kings. Therefore, digging holes is very promising. Damn. The people who were digging holes were all shocked. This bastard was actually so crazy that he wanted to sweep through the 4 districts of the East, West, North, and South. Their digging of holes was just the beginning. Although his words were rough, they were reasonable. They admitted that Chu Yang's words were true. Some people suddenly dug even harder. Anyway, it wasn't their fault. They were forced. They just didn't want to be buried. The 5 Elements sect didn't want to mess with them. They wanted to mess with this grandson. Then, they could stand out in this assessment. This quickly became the hearts of most people. Generally speaking, standing out had nothing to do with them. Now they saw hope. They also felt that these words were extremely insightful. It's better to die than to die. I beg you, let me go. We were also forced. I beg you, let us go. I have an 80-year-old mother and a 2 or 3-year-old child. I'm the most handsome. Please be magnanimous and let me go. It doesn't matter if you kill me, but my mother won't be able to live. You're so kind. Let me go and save my family. An 80-year-old mother and a 2 or 3-year-old child. Chu Yang actually heard such interesting words. His interest was piqued. Amidst the crying and bitter tears, he pulled this person out. But, as soon as he saw him, he directly slapped him and said with a smile, I was very moved when I heard this. Grandson, you're only 18 or 19 years old, but your mother is 80 years old. Come, bury this thing for me first. Woo-woo. The man cried bitterly, I'm the most handsome. I really have an 80-year-old mother. My father had a son when he was old. Bury him upside down. Chu Yang glanced at him from the corner of his eyes. He had come up with a new method of burying people, and it was a step further. The man screamed in fright like a pig that was about to be slaughtered. I'm talking about the one I'm the most handsome. What if he really has an 80-year-old mother? The big meatball also felt that this person's reason of having an 80-year-old mother was ridiculous, but he still spoke up. This person was not the main culprit. If they buried him, then so be it. How could they blame it on him? How immoral. Come on, let's bury this big meatball upside down. The fat on the meatball's body seemed to be electrified as it rose and fell like waves. With a whoosh, the 80-year-old thing was directly planted into the pit. Its movements were so fast that the fat on its body seemed to have turned into wings at this moment. I'm the most handsome. You are indeed wise. You can tell that I'm the most despicable at a glance. Seeing that I'm so proactive, even if I don't have any merits, at least I've worked hard. Allow me to be the one to bury this person. Monkey and the one with no eyebrows immediately dragged one of them into the pit. Many people did the same when they saw this. Chu Yang glanced at the big meatball. Look, there are many people who want to bury people. We don't need you, right? The browless guy and the thief, you two bastards. What does this have to do with you? Why are you so proactive? Why are you leading the trend? The meatball was on the verge of tears. Then, he suddenly had an idea and said, Omnipotent, handsome, elegant, tall, mighty, I'm the most handsome. I can be a meatball. After I'm buried, I'll just roll around and I'll be able to compress the ground. What a talent! Chu Yang's eyes lit up. He nodded and said, That's not bad. Even I feel that it's a novel idea. Big Meatball, you've finally found your strengths and characteristics. From now on, you will be my professional road roller. Do well, I have high hopes for you. Chapter 298. Rumble. When Chu Yang was about to bury them, the entire illusory demon's secret realm was filled with thunderous rumbles. It was as though the heavens were enraged. The 5 heavens' eyes above the illusory demon's secret realm suddenly shone brightly. TSK, they finally can't sit still. Chu Yang glanced at the heavens' eyes in disdain. At this moment, the 5 sky eyes in the sky had already displayed the shocking scene in the Western District one by one in front of everyone, causing everyone to be shocked. Chu Yang defeated the fierce dragon martial Insti Tushan's Lung Haomiao and used his hammer to smash the earth-drooping mountain. Chu Yang treated Chu Feixing and Ma Kongxing like cymbals. He grabbed their heads and smashed them like cymbals. Chu Yang defeated the fierce dragon martial Insti Tushan, the earth snake martial Insti Tushan, the true martial Insti Tushan, and the other 3 martial Insti Tushans in the western region. Then, he sat on top of a small mountain with his head held high. This scene caused the entire illusory demon's secret realm to suck in a breath of cold air. Was the I'm the most handsome in the heavens' eyes still human? After a short moment of silence, the entire illusory demon's secret realm exclaimed. The fierce dragon martial Insti Tushan is one of the 3 strongest martial Insti Tushans in the western region. They are very powerful. However, their leader Lung Haomiao was instantly crushed by I'm the most handsome, and used as a hammer? Miserable, it was too miserable. The number 1 influential figure of the fierce dragon martial Insti Tushan had actually fallen to such a state. Chu Feixing and Ma Kongxing of the Earth Snake martial Insti Tushan and the true martial Insti Tushan were also defeated by I'm the most handsome. They were even more miserable. It seemed like no one knew the upper limit of Chu Yang's strength. The Earth Snake Martial INSTI Tushan and the true Martial INSTI Tushan were easily crushed. They looked so pitiful and weak. 1 against 1,000, and he crushed them all in such a short time. What kind of combat strength does he have? The brutal scene caused many people to hold their breath. This, "I'm the most handsome," was too strong. It exploded. The 3 districts in the east, south, and north had completely exploded. Who is this, "I'm the most handsome"? He is so strong that it is outrageous. It's simply too brutal, too savage. He was beaten to such a state. Heavens, is he still a human? Why is there such a despairing monster in our year? If one were to ask who was most familiar with the scene in the Heavenly Eye, it would naturally be the people from the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution. In an instant, the disciples of the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution couldn't help but look at each other. They had the same feeling as Li Hao. Brother, 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 brother. Brother, 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 brothers. That curly beard is just a facade. I think that's our junior brother Chu. I don't believe that our junior brother Chu doesn't know how to disguise himself. That should be our junior brother Chu without a doubt. There's no doubt about it. The corners of his mouth curled up. That mocking expression of his is very familiar to me. Chu Na was already gritting her teeth. Others might not be able to confirm it, but how could she not recognize her own brother? That crafty gaze, that mocking expression, and that sloppy attitude. She was especially familiar with the small movements of Chu Yang's body. Damned little sheep, you're itching for a beating if you don't do anything for a day. Her angry scolding made Li Hao, Zhang Tian, and the others feel pity for her. With such a troublesome younger brother, it was not easy to be an older sister. Immediately after, they warned the disciples of the Coiling Dragon Martial INSTI Tushan, "All of you better watch your mouths and don't spread rumors." How is this our junior brother Chu? Does our junior brother Chu look like this? Ha ha. Chapter 299. Bury them all. Chu Yang was going to kill everyone in the western region's 3 major martial INSTI Tushans. When this scene appeared, everyone was shocked. Don't look at me with such resentment. After I destroy the 3 major martial INSTI Tushans, it will be time for you monkeys to become kings. Such words instantly made many people envious and hated that they weren't in the western region. When they heard that Chu Yang was going to scam the 3 major martial INSTI Tushans in the eastern, southern, and northern regions, they were excited again. However, it was an empty joy. This was already announced to the entire illusionary demon hidden domain. What else could there be? That damned big meatball. It's not like he is going to bury thousands of people. Why is he so concerned? If I were to meet him, I would definitely cut him up. There is also that guy without eyebrows and that thief. What does this have to do with them? Why are they grumbling? Can't they hurry up and dig a hole? If I were in the western region, I would definitely be an expert at digging holes. If I claimed to be second in digging holes, no one would dare to claim to be first. Many people hated the big meatball, the guy without eyebrows, and the thief. If they didn't grumble and move faster, the 3 major martial INSTI Tushans on their side might be buried just like the 3 major martial INSTI Tushans in the western region. The 3 major martial INSTI Tushans in the eastern, southern, and northern regions couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. That was close. Fortunately, they were half a beat slower. The fierce dragon martial INSTI Tushan, the earth snake martial INSTI Tushan, and the true martial INSTI Tushan were too miserable. They almost became the next fierce dragon martial insti Tushan, the next earth snake martial insti Tushan, or the true martial insti Tushan. If that was the case, it would be worse than death. They rejoiced again. Rumble. In the sky, thunder rumbled again. Everyone noticed that the 3 rankings in the western region had appeared again. Subsequently, all the rankings in the illusionary demon hidden domain bloomed with more dazzling radiance than ever before. I am the most handsome, rank 1, 2 million points. I am the most handsome, rank 1, 2 million potential value. 2 million points. 2 million potential value. Everyone's minds buzzed endlessly. Since the establishment of the 5-element sect, such a number of points had probably never appeared in the entrance exam. The light on the record ranking board immediately covered the points ranking board and the hidden dragon ranking board. Many records were displayed. I am the most handsome, the most brutal, the most accumulated, and the most potential. It was the most brutal. All of the participating disciples felt that these words were too accurate. They even felt that these words were not enough to describe the situation. Other things aside, Chu Yang's points, his potential value, and the records he had created were all extremely brutal. 2 million points, 2 million potential value, such a heaven-defying record. Perhaps from now on, no one would be able to break it. You don't know what 1 million points are, but now you know what 2 million points are. The rumbling sound resounded throughout the Huanma secret territory, shocking everyone. Many people suddenly woke up from their stupor. Yes, how could a person who could obtain 1 million points be ordinary? They actually planned to rob such a person's points. Weren't they courting death? As for the fierce dragon martial insti Tushan, the earth snake martial insti Tushan, and the true martial insti Tushan, they actually treated such a person as being blessed by the heavens. They even drew lots in front of him to decide who would be blessed by the heavens. If they didn't die, who would? They deserved to die. In an instant, almost everyone had the same thought. They suddenly didn't feel that the fierce dragon martial insti Tushan was pitiful. They were courting their own death. One must be honest. One cannot be too fierce dragon martial insti Tushan. One must keep a low profile. One cannot be too earth snake martial insti Tushan. Don't be too arrogant. Even if you are arrogant, one cannot be too true martial insti Tushan. Not only did the 3 martial insti Tushans become a joke, but they also became the role model for all the participating disciples. Chapter 300. 2 million points. 2 million potential value. These points could only be seen but not used. As for the title of I'm the most handsome, it could only be used to rob others. If Chu Yang dared to admit that he was, I'm the most handsome, he felt that it would be very interesting. There would definitely be people coming to visit him every day. He would never doubt this. As for the 5 elements sex people, such as the goatee or the sloppy king, it didn't matter how they looked at him. He quickly waved his sleeves and left them behind. Alright, stop digging and planting. I'm very sorry to inform you that you no longer have a chance. The fierce dragon martial insti Tushan, the earth snake martial insti Tushan, and the true martial insti Tushan had escaped from death. Many of them were already crying and sobbing. The big meatball, the thief, and the eyebrowless man were all sighing, crying. Only now do you know how to cry? What were you doing just now? Why were you so arrogant? Many of them were secretly lamenting that it was a pity. If the people from the east, south, and north districts were all cheated, it would be a great thing. They would have a much better chance in this 5 elements sex entrance exam. Unfortunately, it didn't go as they wished. Let me ask you something. Instantly, all the ninjas quivered and were thinking of how to flatter Chu Yang. It was obvious that this grandson not only had to give an accurate answer, but flattery was also necessary. Where are the illusion devils hiding in this illusion devil hidden domain? I am going to capture a few of them to be my slaves. Everyone's expression instantly turned strange. They were praying that they wouldn't encounter the illusion devils, but this grandson couldn't wait for the illusion devils to come to him. It was especially so for the fierce dragon martial insti Tushan and the other 3 major martial insti Tushans. They even had the heart to die. They actually went to find trouble with such a master. Many people from the 3 major martial insti Tushans couldn't help but have great doubts about their respective leaders. Leng Haomiao, Chu Feixing, and Ma Kongsheng. Were the 3 of them stupid? How could they treat such a savage person as a trash? No one answered. Who knew? Big Meatball, tell me where the illusion devils are. Chu Yang looked at the big meatball. The big meatball knew that he was unlucky. I'm the most handsome, suave, and handsome. I heard that the Huanma in the Huanma secret realm has been wiped out. I don't think there are any more. The meatball couldn't help but squint as it spoke, secretly sizing up Chu Yang. When it saw that Chu Yang seemed unhappy, it immediately added, I don't have Huanma, but I do have Huanma pills. I want the illusory demon pill. Chu Yang smiled and said, Tell me, where can I find the phantasmal demon pills? Even if I don't see them, I can still look at their essence. I'm the most handsome man who knows everything. The meatball pointed at the Heaven's Eye formation. There should be a phantasmal demon pill there. I heard that the elders of the 5 elements sect wiped out all the demonic nature of the illusory fiend pill and used it to set up the array. Phantasmal demon pill, Heaven's Eye? These 2 don't seem to be the same thing. Chu Yang smiled and looked at the meatball. His meaning was obvious. If you want to talk nonsense, I will bury you. The meatball broke out in cold sweat. He was too unlucky. Chapter 301. The real object was transformed by the phantasmal demon elixir, and then transmitted to the other side to form an image to monitor the entire Huanma secret territory. This seemed reasonable. Chu Yang believed it for the time being. Big Meatball, I'll believe you for now. As he spoke, his eyes unconsciously glanced at the Sky Eye array. Suddenly, a furious voice rumbled from the Sky Eye and warned, Little dog, if you dare to have any ideas about the phantasmal demon elixir in the array, I'll kill you without mercy. Kill without mercy, how terrifying! Chu Yang despised the Sky Eye in his heart and said perfunctorily, Don't worry, I have a bottom line. It's just a phantasmal demon elixir. Don't make such a fuss. Swish. Chu Yang left as soon as he finished speaking. His speed was extremely fast. He soon disappeared into the darkness of the night, and no one knew where he had gone. After about half an hour, a roar resounded throughout the Huanma secret territory. Little dog, how dare you! The exasperated voice made everyone in the Huanma secret territory realize that this matter must have something to do with the supreme grade, I'm the most handsome. However, they did not know what earth-shattering thing this supreme grade had done to anger the higher-ups of the 5 Elements sect. They didn't have to wonder for too long. At the center of the Huanma secret territory, where the overall ranking board was located, there was a sudden burst of light, followed by a series of violent explosions. Then, the largest Heaven's Eye on the overall ranking board completely disappeared. Little dog, I order you to return the phantasmal demon elixir immediately and restore the array. Otherwise, I'll skin you. Everyone was speechless. This supreme grade was really lawless. He actually stole the phantasmal demon elixir on the overall list and completely destroyed the array there. As a result, the disappearance of the Sky Eye on the overall list greatly weakened the 5 Elements sect's monitoring of the entire Huanma secret territory. The Huanma secret territory might become more chaotic and dangerous. Junior Brother Chu, this Everyone from the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution was shocked. Chu Yang actually dared to do such a thing. As for whether or not it was Chu Yang, they didn't have the slightest doubt. Perhaps the monster core or devil core was just like that to others, but in Chu Yang's hands, it was definitely a different scene. Chu Yang needed these things very much. Damned little bastard, can't you stop for a moment? Chu Na gritted her teeth. As Chu Yang's elder sister, she was so scared that she almost couldn't take it anymore. First, Chu Yang had made a shocking 1,000,000 points, and then, the things that followed were even more outrageous. 2,000,000 points, I'm the most handsome. Now, I've even destroyed the heavens eye monitoring the Huanma secret plane and stole the Huanma pill. Every single one of his actions was incomparably bold, and every single one of them could make him the eye of the storm, the target of public criticism. At the side, Li Hao, Zhang Tian, Ji Jingqing, and the others could only smile bitterly. They said in their hearts, "Senior sister, you've been counted on this time. Junior brother is like a storm. Wherever he goes, the world will be turned upside down." Previously, they had thought that Chu Yang would definitely stir up a storm in the five-element sect. However, they never expected that Chu Yang would create such a big storm. Now it was just the entrance examination. Who knew what would happen after he entered the five-element sect? This grandson really did do such a thing. The big meatball from the western region didn't find it strange at all. He would find it strange if Chu Yang didn't do such a thing. Calm down, calm down. Didn't we already expect it? Isn't that so? Even if he does something outrageous now, I won't find it strange. The browless man and the thief couldn't help but laugh. Now, those big shots of the five-element sect will be jumping up and down. I'm looking forward to the scene of them hanging that top-quality guy up and beating him. I promise I'll go and watch. Count me in. This grandson is bullying me too much. Even if I can't beat him, I can still watch him make a fool of himself. The people from the western region didn't find it strange that Chu Yang would do such a thing. In their opinion, this was the kind of person who would kill a chicken with a knife. If you gave him a chicken knife, he would kill a phoenix like a chicken. Chapter 302. As if he had stolen a chicken, Chu Yang immediately ran away after getting the magic core of the illusion demon. At the moment when the heavenly eye in the center was blinded, he quickly changed his original appearance and rushed towards the East District. After swallowing this magic core, I should be able to break through to the power of 3 dragons and refine the triple true essence. After confirming his safety, Chu Yang did not immediately participate in the snatching or earning of point. Instead, he found a relatively hidden place to prepare for his breakthrough. The magic core of the illusion demon was crystal clear and divided into 3 layers. It was as if 3 transparent circular crystals were wrapped around one another. At first glance, Chu Yang's vision was immediately distorted by the illusion demon core, creating layers of illusions. In an instant, more than a dozen illusion demon cores appeared in front of him. The 2 layers inside the illusory demon pill were even more exaggerated. There were hundreds and even thousands of phantoms. Chu Yang couldn't distinguish between the real and the fake for a while. This illusion demon core is actually so amazing. Chu Yang was very surprised. It seems that the level of this illusion demon core is extremely high. I wonder what realm the illusion demon that was killed was at. If it weren't for the fact that the demonic energy in the illusion demon core had been completely wiped out, Chu Yang felt that just by looking at this magic core, he would have been confused and even demonized. The 3 layers of the demonic core were all different. The centermost layer didn't seem to exist at all, it was just an illusion. The second layer, however, was extremely real. As for the outermost layer, it seemed to be a fusion of the first and second layers, true and false. In other words, the 3 layers of the illusion demon core were false, true and false. True is false, false is true. Where there is nothing, there is nothing. When you look at the real thing as an illusion, the fake thing is even more real than the real thing, and vice versa. There were many levels to the concept of truth and falsehood. It was not a simple truth and falsehood. There were always many people in the world who treated false things as true and true things as falsehood. The more Chu Yang sensed the illusory demon pellet, the more extraordinary he found it to be. His stealthy return this time was unimaginable. This illusory fiend pill is truly incredible. If I consume it, I'll be able to combine the illusory power of the illusory fiend palm and the illusory power of the illusory fiend wolf to create illusions. I'll be able to toy with my enemies. He directly swallowed the illusory demon pill. Kaka. As soon as the illusory demon pill entered his stomach, the celestial myriad forms millstone appeared and instantly crushed the entire illusory demon pill. Shockingly, it didn't grind away the impurities in the pill. Instead, it ground the high-grade energy into low-grade energy. The quality of the energy in the Huanma Dan was extremely high, and Chu Yang was unable to absorb it at his current realm, which shocked him once again. This, not long after he swallowed the illusory demon pill, Chu Yang suddenly felt that his physical body had completely disappeared. He was only left with his spiritual consciousness. Soon, layers of illusions and illusions appeared in his spiritual consciousness. In an instant, Chu Yang felt as if his consciousness had been wrapped in a dreamy bubble, and he had fallen into a dreamland and an illusion. He didn't panic. This was his physical body and spiritual consciousness absorbing the energy in the illusory demon pill, as well as his talent. Logically speaking, Chu Yang should have sensed this process carefully, because this was the only way to accurately comprehend the illusory fiend intent. However, Chu Yang directly used the full martial soul. Actively sensing, comprehending, and learning was a far better process than using the full martial soul. Not only could he obtain the complete illusory fiend talent by using the full martial soul, but this talent was also innate, as if it was bestowed by the heavens. This was the strength of the full martial soul. It operated automatically like the heavenly Tao. Naturally, it had its own strengths and advantages compared to the genius martial soul. Chapter 303. Awakening from a Dream, I Don't Know. When Chu Yang woke up, he couldn't help but be startled. The first thing he sensed was his true essence. His true essence was also divided into 3 levels, just like the illusory demon pellet. False, true, and true as one. Not only that, Chu Yang also felt that there was something else in his true essence that made him feel that his true essence was extremely extraordinary. Third revolution of the Qi soul. He used his genius martial spirit and instantly understood that the energy contained in the illusory demon pellet was extremely dense. It was far from what Chu Yang could withstand. When he broke through to the 3 dragons' strength, he formed the 3 talents' true essence. Under the push of the full martial spirit, 1 gave birth to 2, 2 gave birth to 3, 3 gave birth to all things, producing the 4 divisions, 5 elements, 6 directions, 7 stars, 8 trigrams, and 9 palaces true essence. After completing the first revolution, he completed the second revolution and finally entered the third revolution. In other words, his true essence had already undergone the third revolution, which was the third revolution of the Qi soul. The origin martial third revolution, the third revolution of the Qi soul, and the third revolution of the ascending soul. These 3 were the pinnacle of the origin martial realm, the Qi soul realm, and the ascending soul realm. Those who could reach the origin martial third revolution were extremely rare. Almost no one could do it. Otherwise, Chu Yang's elder brother, Chu Fei, wouldn't be so shocked. The third revolution of the Qi soul and the third revolution of the ascending soul were even more difficult and impossible to do. I completed the third revolution of the Qi soul just like that. Chu Yang felt that it was somewhat unreal. He was now in the third revolution of true essence, the third talent realm. Not only that, his true essence's third revolution was also divided into the major third revolution and the minor third revolution. The minor third revolution was the 3 stages of the illusory demon pellet: false, true, and true as one. The major third revolution, the first revolution, his divine soul to temper his true essence; the second revolution, his martial spirit to temper his true essence; and the final third revolution, his body to produce true essence. It seems that I can use my divine soul to temper my true essence because of the full martial spirit. It has nothing to do with body cultivation. The 3 transformations of Qi and Soul gave Chu Yang a more comprehensive and thorough understanding of the refinement of quintessential essence. In the past, every time he made a breakthrough as a body cultivator, his divine soul would refine his true essence. However, this had nothing to do with body cultivation. Instead, when he made a breakthrough, the path between his body and divine soul was temporarily opened. Under the automatic operation of his full martial spirit, true essence poured into his body and was refined by his divine soul. Why would a body cultivator need to temper their true essence? Once a body cultivator's body was strong enough, their true essence would naturally be nurtured. There was no need to temper it. The idiot martial spirit is definitely not inferior to the genius martial spirit. Both of them have their own strengths, and if used well, their effects will be heaven-defying. And I have 2 martial spirits, so the so-called impossible does not exist. Things that are as difficult as ascending to heaven in the eyes of others are as simple as eating and drinking to me. Ha ha. After Chu Yang laughed for a while, he began to feel the effects of the third circulation of Qi Soul. Screech! A high-pitched eagle cry rang out. His body was like an eagle's nest, and in an instant, an eagle spread its wings and flew out, soaring into the 9 heavens. Chapter 304. Roar. Chu Yang punched the air, and the 3 dragons and 6 elephants behind him roared in unison. The roar resounded through the heavens and earth, spreading far and wide. The echoes reverberated back to Chu Yang's ears. My strength has now increased to the strength of 3 dragons and 6 elephants. With this, I will be able to break through to the strength of 4 dragons and refine my physical body into the true yuan of the 4 elephants. Chu Yang was delighted. The first 2 transformations of his Qi Soul, the Soul Transformation and the Martial Soul Transformation, had already been completed. Now, only the true yuan of the body transformation was left. Although there were many types of true yuan in his body, including the Phantom Demon's true yuan, the Flood Dragon's true yuan, the Sword's true yuan, the Blade's true yuan, and so on, there were no less than 9 types of true yuan. However, his physical body could only refine 3 types of true yuan: water, fire, and earth. In other words, he was only at the 3rd layer of the Qi Soul realm, but breaking through to the 4th layer was just around the corner. Now that I have the 4 innate constitutions of water, fire, earth, and metal, and the 5 innate constitutions of wood, wind, thunder, light, and darkness, it will not be easy to complete the 3rd transformation of the body transformation. After Chu Yang's joy, he could not help but frown. With 4 innate constitutions, as long as the strength of his physical body increased, it would be easy for him to break through to the 4th layer of the Qi Soul realm. However, after that, it would be difficult. He would have to first refine the wood, wind, thunder, light, and darkness bodies before he could break through. If others knew about this, they would definitely think I'm a madman. It's already extremely difficult to refine the 9 types of true essences of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, but I still want to refine the 9 types of innate physique. After reaching the 4th layer of the Qi Soul realm, Chu Yang could already foresee that it would be extremely difficult for him to break through. Every step was a bottleneck, and it would be impossible for him to break through as easily as before. Boom! Chu Yang suppressed his worries and began to try. He punched out, and 10 dragons and 8 elephants appeared. This was the strength of 10 dragons and 8 elephants. My original strength is the strength of 3 dragons and 6 elephants, so 10 dragons and 8 elephants is exactly 3 times. As expected, the third transformation of the origin martial realm and the third transformation of the Chi Soul transformation cannot be stacked. Shua. Chu Yang moved at full speed. In an instant, it was as if he was shuttling through the void. His speed was extremely fast, and he didn't use anything at all. More than 10 illusory figures appeared, one after another. It was impossible to distinguish which one was his real body. I can only increase my speed by 3 times. 1. With Chu Yang as the center, 3 ripples spread out in the void in an instant, followed by 3 more ripples. A total of 6 ripples spread out in the distance. Then, Chu Yang sensed everything. In his spiritual consciousness, the spiritual sphere that resembled the illusion demon pill slowly rotated and presented everything that he had sensed. This spiritual sphere seemed to be evolving into the universal manifestation apparatus. When Chu Yang swallowed the Huanma Dan, not only did his physical body have a huge breakthrough, his mental power was also the same. His mental power underwent a transformation and condensed into a mental sphere like the Huanma Dan. 6 times my perception. My mental power can increase my strength by 6 times. Chu Yang was slightly surprised, but then he figured it out. The reason why the third transformation of the origin martial realm and the third transformation of the Chi Soul transformation couldn't be stacked was probably because the third transformation of the Chi Soul transformation, the physical transformation, had not been completed. Whether it was speed or strength, it was directly related to the physical body. Mental power was not affected by the third transformation. Therefore, the third transformation of the origin martial realm and the third transformation of the Chi Soul transformation could be perfectly stacked, allowing one to increase their mental power by 6 times. Without stopping, Chu Yang began to experience the third transformation of the minor transformation after understanding the third transformation of the great transformation. It could also be said that it was the third transformation of the Huanma Dan. Screech. In an instant there was the high-pitched screech of an eagle, but the eagle's figure was nowhere to be seen. It was somewhat strange. However, Chu Yang could clearly see that the eagle that flew out of his body was completely transparent. It was almost invisible. Change. With a thought from Chu Yang, there was another high-pitched screech of an eagle. The originally invisible eagle instantly appeared in the air. It was as if an eagle had been summoned by Chu Yang from another dimension. This eagle had flesh and blood. It was impossible to tell that it was made of qi. It was a real eagle that couldn't be any more real. Change again. Boom. All of a sudden, the eagle seemed to explode. Its figure blurred and soon 10 eagles appeared. It was hard to tell which was real and which was fake. They circled in the air, constantly emitting high-pitched cries. It should be more than that. Chu Yang still had a lot of energy left. With a thought, he instantly used the second move of the Great Thousand-Leaf Hand. The eagles in the air instantly increased from 10 to over 100. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.